Hello there. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Listen, one of these days we need to have a meeting to discuss how Monday comes real quick and then Friday just trots and comes slowly. But the reason why I'm excited that Monday comes quite quickly is because I get to be here with you and you as well get to tune into the AM show. I am Emefa Akosiadeti and a warm welcome to another beautiful week on the AM show. And as usual, we shall serve you with some news. Noella Kareniali is on standby to bring you some news as well. Haruna will bring you some updates in sports. Then we shall get ready for the news review. This morning we'll be joined by Awal Mohammed, Communications Aid, Baumia Campaign, as well Wanda Madilo, Development Analyst and a member of the NDC Communications team, and as well Nelson Kujo, Gbenyiri, Head of Trading, Merchant Capital. You want to as well stay with us today because we shall get into one of the big stories. Ghana secures a diplomatic breakthrough as the United States reverses the visa restrictions imposed on the country in July this year, restoring the eligibility of Ghanaians for the 5-year multiple entry visas. I know. Well, along with other enhanced consular privileges, but could Ghana have gotten more than this following the U.S. migrant deportees deal? What's really the next transactional Trump? We'll discuss this plus as well some fallouts from the UN General Assembly. A lot has been happening around that area as well. Also, what you want to describe as another breakthrough for the health sector in Ghana is that sickle cell patients still have a sigh of relief as treatment is now covered by the National Health Insurance Scheme. Yeah, an applaud for the government. We hear from the Sickle Cell Foundation of what they make of this move by the government. Are you excited about it, or you don't even have some confidence in that card at all? We'll have all of that conversation. So to be part of it, join us with your thoughts when we get to open the phone lines. Otherwise, you can as well send us a message via all of our social media handles. We shall be seeing them one after the other. A gentle reminder that the AM show is sponsored by Kenoga Company Limited and Syntex Tank. Please take a seat and wait for the news.
Well, Monday is upon us, a new week, and of course, we are poised to bring you nothing but the best. I'm Noella Kareniali with the latest in the news. And barely 3 weeks after the Gbenyiri conflict, helpless region survivors, Olam Food Ingredient, Ghana Cashew, has donated 200 bags of rice and 78 boxes of tomato paste. Now the support goes to returnees in 8 affected communities across the Savannah region. Among the beneficiaries are displaced families, widows, and traditional authorities.
The Gbenyiri conflict has claimed dozens of lives, displaced many, and destroyed property. Communities are struggling with residents in dire need of support. The latest relief effort has brought timely help. In an interview with Joy News, General Manager of OFI Ghana Cashew, Raphael Yusuf Amankwa, said the company's intervention was driven by its long-standing partnership with cashew farmers, many of whom are victims of the conflict.
So today we are here with some bags of rice. We have brought almost 200 bags of rice and something tomatoes to support the displaced people within the community. So today, as we are here, you can see the people. What differentiates us from other donor support that come is that we have come and we are going direct to the communities to give to the people directly.
He explained that the company's 30-year partnership with farmers accounts for almost 40% of their cashew purchases.
OFI, Olam previously, today OFI have been operating in this area for almost 30 years now. We've been operating. We started with share through to cashew operations we are here. And this unfortunate incident that have happened in the last few weeks, I think we have seen it, we call it unfortunate, and being one of our major areas, because this area, the boiler solar tuna, accounts for almost 40% of our volumes that we buy.
Each beneficiary received a bag of rice and 4 tins of tomato paste. Some shared their sentiments.
Because of this, the fighting, our business is not It's not this more this improving this thing again. Because of that, all this our people they are all brand.
So we are pleading the government and all the security national to come together and listen to us so that all the people who run away will come back again.
They killed my husband, leaving 3 children with me. But I don't have anyone to help me take care of them, if not through organizations like OFI. All 3 children are schooling, but in my current condition, I don't have what it takes to fund their education.
The OFI team visited the Solarua and Kaubarua palaces. Both chiefs welcomed the gesture and urged the company to also support education efforts to discourage those fueling the conflict on social media. Isaac Nonya's report for Joy News.
Away from that, the Volta River Authority, VRA, has announced plans to convert the Akosombo hydroelectric dam into a massive power battery reserve as part of efforts to modernize Ghana's energy infrastructure. Now, the initiative, currently at feasibility study stage, is aimed at making Akosombo more viable in the face of a global transition from hydro to thermal and renewable energy generation. Brief in Parliament Energy Committee during a monitoring visit to the facility on Saturday, that's September 27, in Akosombo, VRA's acting chief executive officer, Engineer Edward Eko Obeng-Kenzo, explained that the project would enable the dam to store renewable energy for later use.
What we're also doing with our hydro resources, because it depends on nature, we don't want to deplete the hydro. So as we are transitioning to renewables, and because renewables are interruptible power, when you run the renewables during the daytime, in the evenings they are off. So what we want to use at Akosombo is as a battery, because when you use a normal battery for the renewable, the cost goes very, very high. So during the daytime, when the solars are running, we'll preserve the water in Akosombo, then in the evening we'll bring the Akosombo on board. So now it acts as a battery and save the country. And when we're able to do that once, we can do it for the whole West Africa pool, because we have a huge water resources. So at least we always have a maximum amount of water to support generation and also to levelize the price, as I said last time. So it's a study we are carrying out.
Well, that's not all, because Engineer Obeng-Kenzo also assured the committee that Ghana's key hydro facilities are in good condition. As he says, both the Akosombo and Akuse dams have undergone retrofitting and rigorous international assessment to ensure their long-term viability.
We'll carry out 5 years dam assessment that experts from dam review board across the world. They come to assess the dam to advise us the integrity of the dam. They were here about 3 years ago. They'll come next 2 years to assess again and advise us. There are some recommendations they made we are carrying through, and I'm sure as part of the expenditures we see in our budget to make sure the dam is safe for the next another. For now, per the work that we've done, we've extended the life of the dam for almost 40 years. Yes, that's what anticipate we've done. And then Akuse too the same, but Akuse the works are still also ongoing. Akuse we did a bit of retrofitting about 5 years ago to also extend the life for 30 more years. So at least we can say that our hydro facilities are ready to support the country in energy generation.
Away from Akosombo, let's take you to the Sisala West district, where the lack of teachers in the Upper West region is hampering effective teaching and learning. District Chief Executive Abudu Hussein Gbenyiri bemoaned the low teacher population, revealing that the school with the highest number of teachers from kindergarten to standard 9 can only boast of 12. Now, Mr. Gbenyiri made the remarks at Dakuma, where the Millennium Child Support Group, with technical and financial support from the ECOWAS Commission through the Regional Agency for Agriculture and food handed over a borehole to the Dakuma Basic School. Joy News Upper West Regional Correspondent Rafiq Salam reports from Dakuma in the Sisala West district.
So we have very few teachers that I'm even shy to mention the number. But if you dig deep, you will know the number.
Sisala West District Chief Executive Abudu Fuseni Gbene, however, is not shy mentioning the figures which he has lots of regrets for.
It is regrettable to mention that the highest school, or the school that is highly staffed in the entire Sisala West District, from KG to Basic 9, is a school that has a staff population of 12. This is regrettable.
As an immediate measure to fixing the challenge, he calls on stakeholders, particularly traditional rulers, opinion leaders, and parent-teacher association (PTA), to revive the spirit of voluntary teaching.
We have to go back to exploit the volunteerism system. You know, some years back, our brothers and sisters who completed senior high schools and are in their communities waiting for further education, they used to go to these schools to support. That it will be an immediate solution.
Abudu Fuseni Gbene appealed to the government and the Ghana Tertiary Education Commission, GTEC, to consider increasing the admission quota for the Tumu College of Education as a permanent measure to increase the population of teachers in the Sisala enclave.
I want to use this opportunity to call on the Ministry of Education and the Ghana Tertiary Education Commission to consider increasing the quota system of our only teacher training college in the Sisala enclave. I'm referring to the Tumu College of Education. We must not be struggling or crying over inadequate staff or staffing in the Sisala enclave, whilst the teacher training college we have is being capped by the quota system. If we increase the quota system of Tumu College of Education and also call on our brothers who complete senior high school to get enrolled with other support from the existing district assemblies in the Sisala enclave, I think we can make a headway with the staff situation in the Sisala West district.
On the provision of the borehole, Advocacy and Communications Officer for ECOWAS Commission, Francis Debiri, is hopeful that the borehole will strengthen education by reducing water-related burden, urging the people to take very good care of the facility.
We do hope that the facility will also contribute to improve sanitation and hygiene for school children, and also to reduce the daily burdens of water collection, especially for our sisters, I mean girls.
Reporting for Joy News, Rafiq Salam, Dakuma, Sisala West District.
Well, from Dakuma, let's come back to Accra, where the deputy presidential spokesperson at the presidency, Shamima Muslim, has revealed that the Mahama's administration plans to establish 35 additional STEM senior high schools and 5 universities specializing in STEM fields nationwide. Now, this initiative, she says, seeks to boost Ghana's STEM education foundation. The deputy presidential spokesperson disclosed this during the Ghana Science Association's 34th biennial conference in Tamale.
The Ghana Science Association's biennial conference serves as Ghana's premier conference gathering for researchers, policymakers, and industry leaders to discuss and advance science, technology, and sustainable development. It was on the theme, Leveraging Innovative Science to Strengthen Public-Private Partnership for Sustainable Development in Ghana. Speaking at the conference, Deputy Presidential Spokesperson Shamima Muslim urged science teachers to practicalize science teaching instead of the theory-based that is being done in schools.
Expanding the very foundations of STEM education. In addition to the already established 10 STEM senior high schools, His Excellency has promised to build 35 more STEM schools and 5 STEM-focused universities. These institutions will nurture Ghana's scientists, engineers, and innovators for generations to come. Beyond these also, I will personally, and that is the Chief of Staff speaking, propose to the Ghana Science Association to lead in reimagining the teaching of science, to make science practical, to make science enjoyable.
The Honorary National Secretary of GSA, Dr. Francis Ade, commended government for the establishment of the Ghana National Research Fund to support research work.
I would like to add my voice and congratulate the current government in taking the bold step to establish the Ghana National Research Fund. Government won the applause of GSA, and we are hoping to see the full operationalization of the fund very soon. Being the largest association of scientists, engineers, mathematicians, and technologists, GSA could not have been more excited at the birth of the Ghana National Research Fund. Indeed, this fund will provide critical support to researchers to conduct high-quality research, create, design, and innovate technologies and systems that will drive the development in our dear nation, Ghana.
Well, still in Accra, the Apostolic Church Ghana celebrated 90 years of spreading the gospel. And founded in 1935 by pioneers like Pastor James McKeon and Peter Newman Enim, the church has now has over 1,500 local congregations and international missions as well. President Apostle Dr. Aaron Armana says the anniversary calls for revival and renewed minds amongst members.
Established in 1935 by pioneers like Pastor James McKeon and Pastor Peter Newman Enim, today, the Apostolic Church Ghana has grown to become one of the country's most spiritually powerful and enduring Pentecostal movements, with over 1,500 local churches in Ghana and mission fields in several other countries. Speaking to the media on the side of the zonal celebration of Mamprobi, Adabraka, Kaneshi and Kwashiman areas, President of the Apostolic Church Ghana, Apostle Dr. Aaron Amina, indicated that the celebration calls for a revival and renewed mind in the church.
We have 4 areas coming together to celebrate. Our expectation is that Christians will understand that Christianity is about a changed life. Christianity is about a new life. Christianity is not just what we do in the church building, and when we go to our homes, when we go to our workplaces, we just do anything. With the number of people in Ghana who call themselves Christians, if we will live like Christians in our workplaces and our homes, Ghana will have no problem.
Speaking on the theme, the God that answers by fire, which is the theme for the 90th anniversary celebration, Vice President Apostle Efum Nyako had the message for the youth.
We want the youth of this church to start learning, to know the legacies that our fathers left, build upon them, so that the identity of this church will not be lost when we attain 100 years. We want the youth of this church to develop that virtue of patience, that virtue of commitment, that virtue of dedication. Today what we see is that when you give a youth, lift this, push this to that side, you must pay. So that commitment that our fathers had is no more.
18-member committee was set for the 90th anniversary zonal convention. Chairman for the committee is Pastor Enoch Atutonu, and he used the occasion to caution the youth on the use of social media.
Insulting adults, insulting people is not a way to go. You don't even generate interest of people to listen to you. The apostle told young Timothy that let no man despise your youth. People will despise you if you look down on your own self or you place yourself below them. But as youth, if we place ourselves at a place where people will look up to us, they will have no other choice than to look up to us. And it is how we carry ourselves about and how we interact with people that will make people want to listen to us. So I want to advise that please and please, let's not be abusive in our when we get opportunity to be on radio, to be on TV, on social media, but we should speak politely and speak with decorum.
Well, let's do some business now. And economist Professor Patrick Esuming is urging government to implement targeted measures that ensure Ghana's ongoing economic recovery translates into tangible benefit for all sectors, particularly local businesses. This call follows a revelation by the Association of Ghana Industries, AGI, that sales and consumer demand have dropped significantly since the start of the year, despite signs of economic rebound and a notable decline in inflation. Speaking to Joy Business, Professor Esuming emphasized the need for inclusive growth strategies to cushion struggling businesses and sustain long-term recovery.
You know, there's still some work to do in terms of how the structure of the economy and the fact that, you know, the sectors that are growing perhaps are not, are not sectors that are connected to local industry. So I think that's probably where we should be looking at, building more interconnectedness and the linkages to ensure that when resale services are growing, then we want to see local industry growing. If we say if construction is growing, we want to see local manufacturing growing. So, but if construction is growing, for instance, and most of the items are imported, then it will have very little bearing on domestic manufacturing sector. So I think it's really building stronger connections within the economy. And then also, again, the economy is recovering. There's no doubt about that. But I think we need to be intentional about where the recovery is coming from. The domestic production and also making sure that the sectors that have a lot of Ghanaian participation are also growing, and they are seeing the benefit of the growth.
Away from that, the Chief Executive Officer of Ghana's leading human resource consultancy, Lane Services Limited, Dr. Ellen Hagen, is calling for the responsible and ethical use of artificial intelligence in the country, especially the educational sector. Speaking to Joy Business during the 10th anniversary float of Legacy Girls College, Dr. Hagen said, while AI presents vast opportunities for efficiency and innovation, there's a need for clear structures to guide its use to avoid abuse and job displacement.
Of activities marking the 10 years of providing quality education to girls, the school organizes a 10th anniversary float from the Accra Mall to 37 Military Hospital and back to Accra Mall, where students, teachers, and some parents fraternized, creating a memorable impression on the minds of the students and the general public.
The artificial intelligence is a tool. If you don't use the skills wisely, it can be negative and it can be positive. So we are teaching our girls to use those tools positively, to give the prompts, and the usage should be such that it is grounded in the values that we have taught them, so that the impact will be felt now. We can't thank God enough for what He's doing with our girls. You know, we are teaching them those soft skills. The robots are here, and we want to make sure that they are able to do what the robots cannot do.
On her part, the head of school, Grace Yaba Eziye, called on parents who want quality education compared to other developed countries to enroll their wards to Legacy Girls College.
This is the school of the future for girls in this country. We will put them on the world platform. Enroll your girls with us and you will not regret it. We will take them places.
The 10th year anniversary is under the theme, A Decade of Intentional Leadership, Empowering the Next Generation of Women.
And that's it for the business updates. We've got sports coming right up. I'm Noella Karen Yali. Stay tuned in.
On the AM show with me, Haruna Mubarak. Now, applause continues to pour in for Ghana's University for Development Studies after their historic triumph at the FISU World Football Games in China. Now, Vice President Professor Nana Jane Opoku Ajiman, the Ministry of Education, the Ghana Football Association, and the Federation of African University Sports have all praised their achievement. UDS made history as the first African side to win the competition, defeating Brazil's Paulista University 2-1 in the final. Highlights for you.
Long, down the middle, picked up, goes for goal! Goal! What a start by Paulista University! Not even 30 seconds played. This is Ezzedine. Ezzedine! Oh! A goal! Rounds the keeper! Goal! Goal! Not going home! Look at this again! And unmarked time to deliver a corner to potentially win the match for UDS. For this game, he just bent it in, hit the post, and it went in. They are the champions, campeón, campeón. University for Development Studies, known as UDS, from Ghana.
Good news there. Now, another team hoping to put Ghana back on the world map is the Under-20 Women's National Team, the Black Princesses. They are chasing an 8th straight World Cup appearance after a 4-0 aggregate win over Tunisia. Now, Lawrence Beidou was at the Accra Sports Stadium for the second leg and has this report.
Ghana's Black Princesses booked a place in the next round of the Under-20 Women's World Cup qualifiers following their win over Tunisia at the Accra Sports Stadium. Goals from Mercy Atobra and substitute Agnes Yeboah sealed a 2-0 win at home following their 2-goal advantage from the first leg. Charles Sampson's side missed loads of chances in the opening minutes of the game before they eventually scored twice, one in each half. The head coach is hopeful of the team's efficiency in subsequent games.
There's always room to improve on many things. We've been struggling a little bit with the last third. That has been some of our problem. Last week we had the same problems too. But today, I think the girls were too much in a haste to score the first goal. And since they were not coming, and they are a bit hasty in their decision making.
The gaffer is also confident of guiding the team to Poland next year for the global showpiece.
Actually, our goal, of course, is to qualify to the World Cup, but our intention is to go step by step. When we finish with this, and we are done, then focus will now go into our next opponent, which is South Africa. I actually already even watched their first game that they scored about 5 goals or something like that. So I have an idea a little bit. Their second game, I haven't watched it yet, but we are up to the task. Our aim is to go to the World Cup. So any opponent will study them and work towards how we can outwit them. Yes.
For forward Ivy Osei Owusu, there is still more to do after advancing to the next round of the qualifiers.
I think in my football career, this is my second international match, and I think there is more room for improvement. Having 2 assists And I think the first leg, the goals we scored, I was part, and I think I can do best for Ghanaians here.
Ghana will now face South Africa in the next phase of the qualifying series after the latter's impressive win over Eswatini.
So with the national teams, the Black Starlets will face rivals Nigeria in the semi-finals of the ongoing Wafubi Under-17 Boys Championship. The much-anticipated clash is set for Tuesday with kickoff at 7 p.m. Remember, Ghana booked their place in the last four after a 3-1 win over Niger in their final Group A game, while Nigeria topped Group B with an unbeaten run. The winner of this tie will automatically qualify for the Under-17 Africa Cup of Nations to be staged in Morocco next year. To the Ghana Premier League now, Hearts of Oak made it back-to-back wins, edging 11 Wonders 1-0 on match day 3. Aduana FC also claimed a 2-1 win over newly promoted side Swedro All Blacks. Now, these are the rest of the results for week 3 of the Ghana Premier League. Nations FC, they played out goalless draw with FC Samatex. Hearts of Lions, they are now at the top of the Ghana Premier League after their 1-0 win over Bechem United. Visions FC, they secured their first win of the season following their 2-0 victory over Hohoi United. The Young Apostles, they beat Dreams FC by 1-0. Dreams FC is 3 games now without a win for Winfred Dormon, their head coach. And Karela, they are in the top 3 at the moment after their 1-0 win over Mediama Sporting Club.
Well, you're welcome back. You're still live on the Joy News channel. It's the AM show. MFR Detty is on standby with the panelists to bring you the news review segment. But before that, let me take you through what's making the headlines in our newspapers this morning. And if you take the publisher this morning, the top story is Gapoha Turf War, DG vs Port Director. Well, find that story in page 2 of the publisher. Also, boost Africa's digital ID push. That's on page 6 of the publisher. NPP slams reckless chairman. Read that story on page 3 of the paper. And water crisis looms. That's according to Senyo Hosi. And also KGL chair pushes Africa to build global business giants. That story is on page 2 of the publisher. We'll move on to check out other stories making the headlines. Daily Graphic, for instance, has Ghana Galamsey fight, water bodies, forest reserves, now security zones. Find that story on page 3 of the Daily Guide. ECG terminates 202 contract for underperformance. That story is on page 52 of the paper. And also Mansa Nete, Orleans Lindsay win topmost CIMG awards. That's in page 13 of the newspaper. And First Sky Boss rally support for 15 million Ghana cedis. I'm missing the details at the very bottom, but I'm sure you can find that story in page 13 of the Daily Graphic if that interests you. Let's check out the back of the paper. Well, it says UDS makes history, win FISU World Cup football. That's sports related, and so if you're a big fan of sports, you know where to find that story. Also, under 20 Women's World Cup qualifiers, Black Princesses sweep aside Tunisia to advance. That story is also in the Daily Graphic. Let's check out some of the stories making the headlines in our papers today. And the Daily Democrat, the top story on the Daily Democrat says, Jakpa fight Godfred Dame for the truth. Well, he's petitioned the CID. I know that he's seeking for Mr. Godfred Dame, the former Attorney General, to be charged with 2 offenses. MFR and her panelists will take you through the details of that story. Also, Trasacco assures stability in ongoing Tamalan dispute. That story is on page 2 of the Daily Democrat. Also, KGL Boss champions public-private partnerships for growth. Find that story in page 7 of the newspaper. Also, PTA crucial for education. That's according to the Education Minister, Mr. Haruna Idrisu. If you're a fan of education as well, you know what to do. The Custodian has a top story. It says Ghanaians now drink Galamsey polluted water. That's according to the NPP's Miracles Abuaji. Well, that's on the heels of his recent visit to the Gbenyiri water treatment plant, which has been shut down due to, some water sources in the area heavily polluted due to the illegal mining activities, and has also led to the water shortages in some, 11 districts in the area. Find that story in page 3 of the Custodian. There's an interesting story here, which I'm sure MFR will take you through that as well. It's an Islamic cleric warning that stop reckless marriages and giving birth by heart. Whatever he means by heart, I'm sure MFR would get into the details of that. Build global businesses giants in Africa. Another story by KGO boss, the African leaders. Must be really important because it has appeared, I think, in 3 papers. And so, yeah, you should check it out in the Custodian. And NPP promises free, fair presidential primaries. That's by Justin Kudia. That's the General Secretary of the NPP. Denmark margins build alliance. I missed that story by a second, but it's fine. I'm sure when you pick that newspaper, you'd find details. In the Business and Financial Times, we have port reforms hinge on transparency, not just expansion. Transport Ministry acknowledges concerns, draft LI to operationalize Shippers Act. That story is on page 3 of the Business and Financial Times. And on the economy, we have 5th IMF review takes off this week. If you want details of that story, find that on page 2 of the newspaper. And also, Vice President visits the Ghana Garden and Flower Show, engages exhibitors and innovators. That story is on page 3 of the Business and Financial Times. And also, future of media. Oh, if we could go back to the previous story, Director. That's an interesting story I found there by the Communications Minister, Sam George. It says future of media hinges on compliance, innovation, and collective reforms. I know that he has also been calling for social media to be regulated the same way traditional media is being regulated. I wonder what the New Media Association has to say about that. But find that story in page 2 of the Business and Financial Times. In Zimmermanle Rural Bank posts impressive operational performance, posts 511% growth in profit before tax. Shareholders get 5.3%, 34%, I beg your pardon, returns on 0.01 Ghana cedis per share price. Find that story at the back of the Business and Financial Times. Let's check out more. We have more stories making the headlines in our papers this morning. In the Daily Guide, also, we have no one has, I think I read the story, Justin Kudia saying no one has monopoly over album compilation. Well, that's on the heels of the Bunu Regional Chairman, Abonye DC, stating that he is responsible for compiling the regional albums ahead of the, their primaries, their presidential primaries in January 2026. And as such, is going to ensure that a lot of people or some individuals are not included in the voting process. However that is true, well, we get to find out. But MFR, like I said, is on standby with her panelists to take you into the details of these headlines. MFR, take it.
Thank you so much, Noella, darling. Thank you. That's very well done. We at least know what's happening in the newspapers. You make your choice. Which one has your attention? But this morning, we're joined by Wanda Madilo, development analyst and member of NDC Communications team, and as well Nelson Kujo Kwagbeji, head of trading, Melbourne Capital. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Yes. Head of finance,
yes,
are you?
No trading.
Okay. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. How was your weekend? I'll deal with you before I go to the politics.
All right, sure.
How was your weekend?
Well, my weekend was okay.
Okay.
I did a few travels. I came back to Accra, I think, later part of the day.
Okay.
So it was largely fruitful.
Okay. Did anything in the news have your attention, or did you observe anything that
you'd
like to comment on?
Yes. As an industry player, IMF guys are in town. They will be reviewing our books today. I think they will be in town for 2 weeks. Just recently, the World Bank also said that the economic crisis that we witnessed in 2022 down to 2024 was not attributable to the Russian-Ukraine war and also the COVID-19. And so I'm sure all these issues will come up during the IMF review within the next 2 weeks. It is interesting to note that I think we have been to the IMF for 17 times. And once they are able to review the books and everything is okay, they will be giving us another tranche that is $360 million. And that is going to go a long way to boost our reserve. And so as an industry player, we are actually looking at how the review process will go and what the outcome will be. But considering what changes that we have witnessed, since the inception of this government, as industry players, we have seen that we have made significant strides, and that may impact positively on the review.
Right. When I come back to you again, we'll go a little further in this IMF fifth review. And what is in it for Ghana? For you, if you just look at it on the face of it, what are some of the things they're likely to see that they'll be impressed with? Are we threatened by this $360 million at all?
Well, I don't think so. If you look at, they are basically going to look at our economic, financial, and macroeconomic indicators. If you realize that this government took inflation from 23.8%, currently inflation is at 11.5%. The monetary policy rate of Bank of Ghana was also around 28%. Now it's around 21.5%. You have also realized that the debt stock of the country has also significantly reduced. And so when you look at on the face of it, most of the macroeconomic indicators are improving. We have enjoyed, we have enjoyed relative stability of the Ghanaian cedi. At a point, the Ghana cedi was the best performing cedi in the world. So I'm sure they will take all these factors into consideration before marking our script to see whether we have passed or not.
At least that's comforting to hear. In the next 2 weeks, we won't be sitting on the fence. But let me also introduce to you Awal Mohammed. He is communication aide from your campaign. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Well, I see that you were on fire over the weekend, advancing some good arguments with my colleague, Blessed Soga. We'll get into a lot more of the things that you were raising over there. But Wanda, how's your weekend been? Has it been eventful, cool? Sometimes when you look very coy and shy, I feel like you've come with a certain okay. How was your weekend and what has your attention?
It's been very eventful work, and then a few funerals here and there. I was due to travel, but I had to call it off.
Where were you going?
I was going outside the country, but I wasn't feeling too right, so I just...
You were not feeling right in your body or in flights and all of that?
Everything not feeling well, so I just called it off.
It's interesting because it's only when you...
I was supposed to be in Ketu South. Again, that one too I called off. So.
Okay, then I was about to just advance another part of the argument that if you were going to Konongo and going to outside the country, then these are two different feelings. So not feeling right there, you have my attention.
Just didn't sit with me to step out of Accra.
Okay.
There were a lot of offers. I was supposed to be in Sugakope, Akosombo. I still turned it down and all that.
But are you all right, though?
I'm fine. No,
okay, what in the news has your attention?
No, I'm excited to hear that finally the IMF, the World Bank, are beginning to agree that the crisis we suffered under President Akufo-Addo and his able leadership, Bawumia, who is seeking to tell another story to Ghanaians. It's not true that Ukraine, Russia, and all the COVID were the only reason for which they failed this country woefully. Inflation to 54%.
I've never heard them say that those are the only reasons why they...
That's what they said.
I've never heard that.
Oh, that's it. In fact, I even saw COVID on his paper.
That is his notes. Don't do that. Give him back his notes.
That's electricity.
Then you didn't write it well. So they are always excited to mention COVID, Russia, Ukraine, the president himself, Dr. Bawumia himself. It became the mantra of the day that Russia, Ukraine was the reason Ghana collapsed. And that it was a global phenomenon. They will quote other countries. They will quote UK, quote France, quote their inflation rate to back it up and all that. Never going for the likes of Cote d'Ivoire, Nigeria, just very close to us. Togo, they don't go for those figures because it doesn't look good in those figures. Now we're beginning to know. And we have always stated at that time that corruption was reckless spending was one of the reasons why the government went into what they went into. The borrowing look, borrowing. Bank of Ghana went bankrupt. They were recording negative because of these people. So I'm not too... we have never been excited about those explanations. And to God be the glory. Now we're beginning to know the real facts of the matter. That's what caught my attention.
That's what caught your attention. Well.
Thank you so much.
You have had an eventful week. What has your attention?
I have been around because usually weekends I go to Kumasi. This weekend I didn't go.
So was manipulating registers.
Restful weekend. After Saturday, throughout the Sunday, I have been home and I went to Kwame Nkrumah Memorial Park in the evening. Since President Akufo-Addo gave it the facelift, yesterday was my first time to go there. And
you randomly just wanted to visit there?
Yes.
They were comparing
I was just at home, then I decided to just go there and see for myself. But I've been passing there when I was going to the court, when Abronye was sent there. I passed there. So I decided that one day if I don't go to Kumasi, I'll pass. And I went there and I think I was very excited.
Okay.
But just a quotation from President Mahama. COVID-19 erased 2 decades of poverty reduction. This is Mahama admits at UN General Assembly, myjoyonline.com. So you see, President Mahama has even gone a notch higher, not what we usually say, that it's part of the reasons why the economy had challenges. But President Mahama has said that 2 decades of poverty reduction, COVID-19 has erased it. So it should tell you that indeed what we're saying, we have been vindicated by the same President Mahama. This is something that he said 3 days ago. Not really something that he has said maybe about a year or something ago, but this is just 3 days ago, he admitting that what we were saying at a point in time, that COVID-19, Russia, Ukraine, and some few other challenges were the reasons where we were at that time. And again, he, as an economist, will tell you that indeed the economy was on a right footing before this government took over. Because when you check the inflation, he mentioned 54. 54 was in December 2022. From that time, it came down up to the 23%. So it didn't really go up again. From then, it came down. Again, when you check all the economic fundamentals, before we left off, it was coming down, and the IMF and the World Bank predicted that indeed we may even end this year with the single-digit inflation. This is something that we have started. You didn't really inherit. You inherited an economy that was picking up, that has turned the corner.
Okay.
Yes, that is what you...
Let me go to Nelson, especially because Nelson, they crunch the numbers. They understand the economy better. And it gets a bit some way if you're dealing with the politicians, right? Sure. So I'll take your word for it.
Yes, sure.
So President Mahama, yes, has quoted that COVID really took some decades of poverty reduction from our country.
Africa.
From Africa.
Yes, he never said Ghana. He said Africa.
Which will include Ghana, will it all?
Yes. So
okay.
He was talking about a continental problem.
I think that we have made quite a light of this COVID impact. Russia-Ukraine impact. I'll take it from you, the third parties, that indeed, when the NPP says that it had a major impact on the economy, are they exaggerating it? Are they saying it as it was, or they're just being political about it?
Well, to answer this question, we need to do analysis in time and in space. By doing analysis in space, we are doing a comparison between the Ghanaian economy at the time and our neighbors within the sub-region. In any case, the COVID actually led to the total shutdown of the economy. We were not working. I mean, it's only essential staff who were working. But, I mean, a lot of companies, they closed down. That was the lockdown period, and that actually impacted negatively on the economy. But COVID-19 came in 2019. Now, when the COVID came, I think the World Bank and the IMF actually released some funds to countries. I think Ghana was a beneficiary of that fund. And that fund was supposed, as it were, to help cushion the economy. But you realize that the managers of the public purse, then, in fact, the report that the World Bank released actually mentioned one thing. It said uncontrolled public spending. You see, I've always been saying that managing a country is just like managing a company. Now, when you are managing a company, you need revenue to manage the company. You also need to incur expenses in order to, produce whatever income or profit you want to, produce. And so to the extent that the manager or the managing director of that company is spending uncontrollably, it would technically affect the fundamentals of the company. Now, when you bring that to, the normal government country money, it's the same thing. You need taxation to actually run your economy, but the tax revenue is not coming. Your economy was shut down as a result of the COVID. And as a result of the Russia-Ukraine war, certain things were also not being done. So that will technically have an effect on the economy. But the central question that we need to ask is, what was the management of the economy then? The reason why we say we are doing the analysis in space, in order to compare what the status of the economy was at the time and what it was in other neighboring countries. I think our economy at that time was not really managed, well, because before the COVID came, our debt level had already ballooned. And so there was no fiscal or breathing space for us to go and borrow. You get it? So in terms of the management, yes, as an industry player, I would say that the economy was not well managed at the time. Then another issue that is worth talking about at the time was the fact that the expenditures that were being incurred at the time. In fact, when you read the report, the World Bank said that about $4.1 billion was incurred outside the official financial management system. And that was a lot. 4.1 billion, not Ghana cedis, dollars. That was significant. So we could say that, yes, even though the impact was there, we cannot totally attribute the impact to the COVID and then the Russia-Ukraine war, but the qualitative aspect of it, which is the managers of the economy at the time, which was the tone at the top at the time, significantly contributed to the economic erosion that we had.
Can we corroborate this with what the World Bank says and the advice they give in this current government, saying that, importantly, the new administration should refrain from a hasty return to the Eurobond market, which will be interpreted by international investors as the easy way out. Another thing as well caught my attention, she said the government should focus on strengthening the country's fiscal and growth fundamentals and on convincing the private sector, both in the real and financial sectors, that public debt is on a sustainable path. It says that adherence to the medium-term debt management strategy, MTDS, and full transparency of the annual borrowing plan are essential. The most pressing priority is to establish enduring credibility by maintaining the momentum on fiscal consolidation to achieve fiscal sustainability and avoid premature access to the Eurobond. This will, at least, if it says that refrain from a hasty return to the Eurobond, in a very simple, for somebody watching me now, in very simple English, what do they mean?
Going back to the international capital market should not be an option for now. One, seal the leakages in revenue, mobilize enough domestic revenue, and control your expenditure. In fact, I was saying it on another television station the other day that fiscal prudence is key in managing an economy. Because if your total revenue is 10 Ghana cedis and you are spending 15 Ghana cedis, where are you getting the money from? You get it?
Yeah.
And always you realize that every year we keep on, outweighing or overpassing our revenue target, but we continue registering a fiscal deficit every year. So I think that this is not the time to go back to the international capital market. We need to manage our debt to the extent that our debt to GDP ratio should be within the internationally accepted, framework. Now, Treasury bill rates are coming down, which is good for the government, but bad for you and I. Because now if you have 100,000, you want to invest in the 91-day Treasury bill, you'll be getting about 10%. But that will also cut down significantly government borrowing costs. So what the statement simply means is that we shouldn't go back to borrow from the international capital market for now. Let's concentrate within the domestic economy, mobilize enough domestic revenue, and if there is a need, we continue to mobilize our debt in the Ghana cedis.
Okay. Awal, so as a country, I recall, let's get into the visa and the restrictions that have been lifted, right? It must be, it must be exciting to you, because at least for Ghanaians who really want multiple entries in a number of periods, not just shortened like the way they wanted earlier, you'd be celebrating the good works of the current foreign minister, would you not? Are you not excited about it, at least?
Thank you so much. But before that, let me just say something about the economy.
Okay, quickly,
yes, just a quick one on when he said that, well, before COVID-19, there was reckless expenditure and so on, right? I'm sure if I...
we all know, we all know.
If I'm quoting you well.
Well, I said before the COVID came...
It's not your word.
There were some challenges.
There were some challenges, not reckless, some challenges.
That is true.
How
because
reckless,
after COVID, just after COVID, we first received the drawdown from IMF in August 2021. So between 2019 and 2021, we did not go into the market to take anything from the market. So it means within that 2 years, if we didn't have buffer, Ghana will have faced significant challenges.
And this was 2020. You say if you didn't have 2021.
Yes, between 2019 when we shut down the economy and 2021 August, that was when we received the money from the IMF. It means that within that period, we're managing the economy. And again, even within that period, the economic fundamentals were good. It was in January 2022, when you even check January 2022, the CD to the dollar was around 5.1 or so. It was in February when the Russia-Ukraine struck that it started moving up. And inflation was around 40.
I think when I hear economists and financial experts speak, they are not ruling out the Russia-Ukraine war entirely.
Yes.
Neither are they also ruling out COVID and its impact. Yes. I think they seem to suggest that what you needed, the amount of borrowing in trying to curb the situation was a bit more.
So you
that's
see,
you see, just a small understanding.
Before the COVID-19, the economy was moving on a right trajectory.
It's not in debate.
We had everything on in point. So when Russia-Ukraine came, when COVID-19 came, we decided to do heavy investment on health after the COVID-19.
So that the borrowing and the spending is justified.
Exactly so, because you see, we started...
Then why would the World Bank be advising that the current government shouldn't quickly go?
Yeah, because at this point in time...
It doesn't need it.
No, we have taken the economy to some level that we had gone for debt reliefs, which in December we had some debt reliefs. And again, we are not paying some of our obligations that we have shifted to 2027 and 2028. So definitely you cannot just go to the market to really borrow again. You will have to really do a lot of homegrown policies to be able to. So what I'm saying is that effectively, at that point in time, indeed, we did not anticipate that COVID will come. So we did heavy investment. We finished we were financing the free senior high school. We did a banking cleanup, which took a lot of money from the economy. Then the 111 hospitals that we started.
Is this the message for Dr. Bawumia? Is this the message he's going to be going out with? I mean, I'm jumping the gun, but is this his message that justifiably every amount of money?
We will have to work on what we had done in the last 8 years. The NDC government in the last 9 months cannot even boast of a single project that they had done. Again, what they can only boast of is that we're paying electricity at 18.5% cumulatively this year.
Is it their fault?
My salary has been increased by just 10%. The public sector workers...
But the PRCU and the statutory law, which they used to implement this adjustment, existed way before they came to power.
Yes, but last year, we did 6.3% cumulatively for the year. We did 25% increment in the salaries of public sector workers. This year, they are doing 18.4% in electricity and 10% adjustment.
Can they genuinely do much? Can the government do much? Of course, now, you know that everything they do seems to be embedded in the requests and requirements of IMF.
You see, the government is not even spending. That's the reason I'm telling you.
Do they have money?
Yes, but they voted monies for projects and they have not spent. Because, for instance, if you check all the youth policies that the president had launched, the Ejumapa, what's the name? Ejumapa, the Coders, Ejumura, the Coders, and and the
this money
and the entrepreneurship. You see, when the minister came to Parliament, the monies he voted for them in the media budget, the money he voted for them,
they're not spending.
He didn't even give them up to 20%. None of the policies had even got up to 20%, and they were supposed to spend within this year.
So the money,
the money is supposed to be there for them to spend, but he's not releasing it.
Where's the money?
He's not releasing it.
He says that the government is not.
You know, sometimes when we put out information, let's be clear in our mind what we are doing.
So I'm saying that.
Hold on.
No, let me be clear so that you understand. I'm saying that the finance minister, beginning of the year, when he went and read the budget, he said this year he will give certain amounts of monies to these projects. He voted amounts of money to the project for the year.
Yes.
And I'm saying that there's none of the 3 projects that the president had launched that he has given them up to 15%, up to 20% of the amount of money that he's supposed to release. This is contained in the media budget that he came with. That is why I'm saying that the government is not even spending on the projects that they have even launched. It's the reason you see the economy standing, you see the inflation being controlled because there is no much money in the system.
Okay, Wanda, before you come in,
contractors and so on. That is the reason.
Okay. Before you come in, Wanda, is this the case when a government is not spending? You see that it is a way to massage the inflation rate. Is this it?
All right. So, in economics, there are 2 policies that government can decide to implement based on the circumstance of the moment. Government can decide to embark on what you call a contractionary fiscal policy, where the government would decide not to spend in order to tame down on inflation. Government can also decide to embark on what you call an expansionary economic policy, where government wants to spend in order to, boost productivity, create jobs, and the rest. Now, and these decisions are not based on emotion. They are decisions that are based on sound economic principles.
Okay.
You realize that this government actually inherited an overheated economy. And so when your body is heat, you need to drink water to cool
off,
yes, isn't it? And so the prudent economic policy for the government to embark on is the contractionary economic policy, which they started implementing since they came into office. Now, the assumption that the government is not spending is not entirely true. I'm not saying it's not true, but it's not entirely true. The reason being that most of the statutory payment, the district assemblies, common fund, the national health insurance, all those statutory payments, I think they are not in. We haven't heard from you guys in the news that they are in arrears.
We haven't,
They are actually, yeah. Okay. And so clearly, you realize that government is spending, but I think they are spending on the essential things that matter for now.
Okay.
But regarding the relationship between spending and inflation, as I did indicate, when you are not spending, you are not provoking any economic activity. And to that extent, you expect the inflation to tame down. However, the downward trend in the inflation that we are witnessing is not actually attributable to only the government not spending, but it's actually as a result of Bank of Ghana's also intervention in the market. I mean, once you are enjoying, stable currency, you expect that to translate into, Bank of Ghana adopts so many tools to control inflation. In fact, controlling of an inflation or stability of prices is the prerogative of the Bank of Ghana, the central bank of every country. What they do is that when there is too much money in the system, Bank of Ghana must use what you call monetary policy tools to absorb the money from the system. And once you are absorbing money from the system, you are also curbing down on inflation. And so we can say that, or we can attribute the disinflationary pressure to the policies being implemented by the Bank of Ghana and also the fiscal consolidation measures, the contractionary fiscal policy by the Ministry of Finance.
Makes sense. Thank you for bringing clarity.
It looks like I'm not on the show.
You're on the show. You have the floor.
We're going back and forth.
You have the floor.
And a lot of misinformation
you have the floor.
from our. It is not true.
That's what?
The government is not spending. I mean, the economy would have collapsed by now. Because about 70% of the expenditure patterns in this country is by the government of Ghana.
I don't think he meant that you're not spending
That's
entirely.
what he said.
He says that
I
some of the
mentioned
projects
areas that you have not spent.
Yes. He mentions, to be fair on him, to be fair on him.
The MPP does not determine where, how, and when we spend.
No, but it's not the NPP that's determined.
You went to Parliament. Listen to me.
I'm listening to you. I'll give you the floor.
That.
We'll make progress if you don't also listen to me. So I'm saying that some of the things that he has said, it's true. The finance minister was in Parliament. He didn't read the budget to only NPP. He read it to the whole of Ghana. All right, and earmarked a certain amount of money that this is what they're going to be spending on projects. Awal specifically says that the government is not spending on those projects, and this is why it's cushioning them. I've just had some education from our expert here that it's not a strange way to run an economy. So I can't see why you're saying that he's disinforming people.
I am saying clearly, and I'm going to take my time to say it again.
Okay.
But if you go on TV and you tell Ghanaians that government is not spending, what do you mean? That's one. The government set out several projects to do, and there are timelines for those projects. Let's take, for instance, the 24-hour economy. We didn't come to government for only 1 year, or 6 months, or 8 months. There's a project. It's a project that has a timeline of spending. And so when we get there, we spend. Number two, he says the government is not spending, but he has forgotten that the debt they left in the energy sector was cleared by this government.
No, it has not been cleared.
He's forgotten. Maturing debt. I mean, debt has maturity. Debt does have maturity. You don't expect that we're coming to government to come and take off all the debt within the sector. There are debts that were matured, for which reason the IPP, the independent power producers, were
cleared it. That's what I'm saying, that you have not cleared it.
Yes, because we cleared it, that's why they are producing. They were threatening to shut down. That was cleared. We talked about the big push program and all the roads that they've left behind and not finished. You talk about the Pokwasi and Sawan project is still ongoing. Has it come to an end? It's because the contractor has been paid. How much?
No, but you were here the last time. You recall that the former roads minister mentioned that the amount of money that was made available for, that was spent, and where you see that project is exactly what that money was meant for. Any other spending knows what I'm just quoting.
Yeah, but how does this take away what I'm
because
saying? I'm saying that.
If you say that...
if you say government is not spending, it means that projects have come to an end. And I'm saying that that project is going on without any hesitation. It's because government is spending.
But you're not saying that they have cleared any debt on that one as well, right?
Of course, that project has been cleared. 79 billion, 14 billion is what is going to that project as we speak. So he shouldn't sit on TV and say, even as at two
was it an arrears that was accrued?
2 weeks ago, the arrears that accrued was 79 billion. 79 million Ghana cedis. And he knows that very well. So all that is ongoing. Now, number two, I am saying that the Temamutu project is still ongoing. Have we stopped it? It was under their tenure. And that is going on without any sweat. The Adenta to Dodowa all the way to Kong is still ongoing. Have we stopped it? We haven't stopped it. And new projects have been cut from new projects. From Ho to Aflau, Ho to what's the other bypass. All those ones are ongoing. No. The big push, the big push project is ongoing. And he himself is a government appointee. I'm
not a government, I'm a public servant.
No, but you work with the government.
I'm a public servant.
No, I'm just putting it to a test. As your salary stop. If you go on the tangent that government is not spending and we're doing contractionary measures, sometimes even contractionary measures, salaries are cut off. Salaries are cut off. Is the salary being cut off? No. He still benefits from whatever he was benefiting from when his government was in power. So don't sit on TV and tell everybody that government is not spending, government is not spending. You had an uncontrolled expenditure during your tenure to the extent that even the Bank of Ghana had to give you about 20 billion Ghana cedis just to support your budget. And he thinks that from 2019 to 2021, they had not borrowed. It's not true. Between 2019 to 2021 was when they went to the COVID Eurobond market or whatever they call it, COVID support or whatever, and borrowed $3 billion.
I mentioned the drawdown.
Hold on. It was within the same period that they had collected from the Bank of Ghana the 20 billion, which we said was money printed. So if you
between 2019 and 2021.
Yes, if you sit and you tell us that we didn't go back to the market, we never borrowed, we did zero financing and all that, it's not true. The reason for which the economy crashed was because of their uncontrolled expenditure. If somebody writing just agency of this country is spending over 600 540 million Ghana citizens in the name of corruption. And all the leakages we are seeing today, the COVID funds that have been brought to we can't even speak to it. Listen, under their tenure, even in support of COVID, if indeed COVID was the only reason or one of the reasons why the economy collapsed, they had introduced a COVID tax, which we've been paying till today, just in the name of supporting COVID or the impact of COVID on our economy. To the extent that even the Frontiers project, Frontiers whatever project at the airport. So today we can't even tell what government realized. It was in the around the same time that their so-called PDS thing failed. They were going for the Japan and all that. So don't sit on TV and make it look as though under your tenure it was so, very well. You have done so well, and the NDC came to inherit a very, good economy. We inherited nothing, and they know that very, very well.
What did the president mean when he said that COVID indeed?
The president was talking global. First of all, he was talking global. And if you realize most of the things he talked about Africa. He even talked about repatriations. He talked about how that people have come to the continent, slavery and all that. In the light of that, then he mentioned that COVID had a devastating effect on the economies of Africa. And that 2 decades, which is 20 years of poverty reduction, has been eroded. Now, and that is true. We can't take that away from anybody. What the NDC has spoken about under COVID was that reckless expenditure. We have indicated that over and over. In fact, in almost every project the MPP did, it was about reckless expenditure. Even the collapse of the banks was reckless expenditure. You needed 9 billion to fix the bank. You spent over 24 billion in collapsing them. Jobs were lost. Revenues, even to the state, along those lines, were also off. So the president, when he was speaking at the UN, talked about the devastating effects of COVID. And you remember that when COVID struck us, part of the challenges we had was infrastructure. And the infrastructure was in shortfall. It's the reason why they launched the Agenda 11 project, which they never launched any, which none worked, which none was operational by the time they were leaving office. So all those expenditures culminated in poverty. And it was also because of their government. Now, one of the hospitals that came to their aid at the time COVID struck was the UGMC, University of Ghana Medical Center, which was even built by the John Dramani Mahama government.
Yes. But we completed it.
Look at this. Did you hear what he said?
That's true.
But it's only fair because you also mentioned the road that's happening.
No, he said no. The project was 2011.
Government with John
built by Mahama. Let's say, let Ghanaians understand.
Oh, please, what's your rebuttal?
Okay, so
the rebuttal is that it's built.
Just a quick one. Just a quick one. He mentioned the big push.
Even if you don't want to give credit to the John Mahama administration for what has happened within this period. And I'm so shocked, I'm so embarrassed to hear them say that, oh, you haven't done anything, the economy is just responding by itself. Why didn't you respond for the 8 years that you were in government? If it takes only not spending money, okay, to get the economy back on its footing,
that was COVID.
Why didn't you do that?
That was COVID.
COVID was in 2020, 2021. They left government in 2024. So for all the time that they were in office, why didn't all these things happen?
The impact of this is...
by the time they were leaving office, was almost 24%. At what rate did they take it even before they came to government? It was at 18 when they came in 2020, in 2016, 2017, when they took over office. It was what was the rate? 18%. They went as far as 54%. In fact, we've even had professors in the US who were giving us more accurate data than the MPP was giving us. So don't sit. I mean, it's too early for Ghanaians to hear that you are beginning to gloat over some of these things. It doesn't make sense.
Okay.
But they suffered the impact of your government, of your reckless government, whilst you were in office. 8 years.
Okay.
8 years.
Okay. I'll let you land.
Yes.
Well, you will respond to a few things, but I'm going to... We'll go to the foreign... Because which one?
He mentioned big push. He said, oh, COVID-19... we left, was in 2019, we left office in 2024. One of the reasons you have not been able to even remove the COVID tax, that you even said it in your manifesto, is that you know that the COVID-19, but why haven't you been able to remove it? Why haven't you you said within 100 days you will remove it.
No, you don't get
hold on, I'm coming. You mentioned big push. According to the media review, you voted 13.8 billion and there was zero allocation. Again, on the CODES program, you mentioned it was allocated 100 million. It was also zero. Women's Development Bank, 51.3. Zero.
No, I don't understand.
You allocated an amount of money, but expenditure...
Why is it a problem?
It is a problem because you see,
and I'll come to you
within a year,
yes,
you projected that you do 1, 2, 3, 4 to make the economy better. You said you do big push. And the big push is road infrastructure and some few other things. According to the finance minister, beginning of the year, he said they are voting 13.8 billion for the
Agreed. Even if it was.
I'm saying that. Okay. So in the mid-year, he is supposed to give us the update of where the economy has gone to and the actual expenditures and so on. And I'm saying that on the big push that he's mentioning, he's still talking like he is in opposition because nothing has been expended within the big push.
Why is it a problem?
It's a problem because we have not seen the real project that you said you do with it.
Does that mean that it's everything we're enjoying now is artificial?
No, I'm coming. Just to end.
Not you. I'm going to end.
Just to end so that the expert. No, just to end so that the expert can do it. On the Ejumaura that I mentioned, Ejumaura, according to the minister, he said they allocated 100 million. They were able to give 34.5. That is the highest in terms of the project that for that we give him that credit. Again, it's about 30% or 34%.
We have to move to other topics. But
national apprenticeship, finally, 300 million. He gave only 21 million.
Okay.
It's not even up to 15%.
Okay. We have just been learning that a government can choose a certain way of spending or running the economy. I'm going back to the expect again. What do you think he's seeking? What is he seeking to advance? Why is it a concern if a government says they have allocated a certain amount of money per particular timeline and they are indeed not? Let's just say indeed wonder. Let's just say the government indeed is not spending. Why does it matter?
Well, I think that when expenditures are voted in Parliament, it is not an event or immediately that the money should be released to the sector. Yes. Don't forget that the voting was done based on the fiscal year, January to December. Yes. We are currently in September, which means that we still have about 3 months more to go, or 4 months more to go. And so the finance minister can decide tomorrow that, okay, there is available. And don't forget that the actual allocation of funds is based on availability of money. And so when the tax revenue is not coming, and we are also not really borrowing, then it means that we are going to defer these expenditures. But if you look at what is going around the country, I was in Ho over the weekend, and I realized that one of the big push projects that was launched, you realize the excavators are all over the place working. Yeah. And for contractors, if you don't give them money, or if there is no, what do we call it, mobilization, they will not go to site. So I think it is too early for us to say, okay, because the voting was done, money has not been allocated, and for that matter, project will not go on. The finance minister can say, okay, we have money in tomorrow. Let's give this amount of money to this contractor. And so till the end of the year, it will be very
cannot have this debate. Okay, well, can you have some patience? We'll have this debate in December.
Yes.
Okay.
No problem. But November, he will have to come with another budget for next year.
That will be for next year.
In November,
that will be for next year.
November is just around the corner.
Yes. It's just 1 month.
Wanda, please take the floor.
More realistically, the Big Push program is targeted at bigger projects. The bigger projects takes time to mature. In fact, if you are even a contractor and you go to sites, you are not due money until you have raised what we call certificates, interim payment certificate, IPC. The IPC process can take you even 2 months to raise, because the process is such that you have experts who come to site to see work done, from what point to what point, what quantity of money was spent, and what is due you. That goes through. If it is through, say, road fund, then the road fund administrator has to okay that before it goes, the particular department, if it is urban or just highway, if it is urban, highway, and feeder roads, any of them, they will pass you. Then you go to road fund okays it before it goes to GOG for payment. That is if it's a GOG project or it's a road fund project. So it takes some time. So even at the time the minister read the budget, before those projects were beginning to take shape, it will take some time for all these things to crystallize. So you don't be in a hurry. The NDC government is not in a hurry. We have 4 years. We have 4 years to deliver good governance. We're not going to be in a hurry to crash this economy, like he said. Their government said they are in a hurry. President Kufuor, even at the very day when he was being sworn, he said he's in a hurry. And we saw how being in a hurry crashed the economy of this country. And we're not going to go there.
Let's talk about the visa restrictions. And so the minority in Parliament have been demanding a few things. So one, they say that Ghana should take quite a neutral stand in commenting or making some sort of alignment with the Israel and Palestine war, because naturally that has been our position. We're not a country that have been seen to celebrate one particular position. That's one. Two, you have also been demanding a few explanations from the foreign minister, especially from the deportation, these deportees, and as well purported benefits that we will be enjoying. Now, we woke up to the exciting news for those who like to travel outside the country, and the restriction that struck us earlier this year. Now you have access to multiple entries and as well the usual 5-year visa that he can grant you, plus some benefits. Are you not going to applaud the foreign minister instead of still demand his blood?
Okay, so let me start from the first question.
Okay.
That indeed, why did we say that indeed major pronouncements do not help the cause of the country? The reason is that you remember even Kwame Nkrumah, he said we are neither facing north nor we are facing east. We are a non-aligned country. And that has been the bedrock of our foreign policy from day one. You remember when President Tata Mills of blessed memory said, Diufiasem, it became an issue. And the experts said that, well, it is in line with our foreign policy orientation, that in Ghana, we are always neutral in things that happened in other countries, because it was a DFIASM. And this is the defense that myself and my brother gave when President Mills said DFIASM concerning the Ivory Coast when they were fighting and they asked him for intervention. Then he said DFIASM because it's in line with our foreign policy orientation. So if you check Ghana's foreign policy from independence, it has been of a non-alignment. Even though you can criticize, you can, if there is something that is happening, you can criticize. For instance, the genocide, what is happening in Gaza is something that is condemnable. But when you come clearly to really give some recognition, that is where some people think that, well, we as minority think that the best thing is that let's stay where we are, let's stay within our lane. We are a non-aligned country, and that is the reason we said that, well, moving forward, let's still remain a non-aligned country, just like we started from independence. Again, on the deportation, you see, it is problematic that the NDC government, whenever they are in government, they enter into these treaties, these agreements with the US government. You remember the Gitmo 2. They brought in these Gitmo 2 people in this country. Nana B and a granny called Bamford went to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said that the thing has already been done. They are already in this country. You cannot deport them again. But moving forward, Article 75 of our Constitution says that any treaty, any agreement that is between government of Ghana and any other government must be ratified by Parliament.
If you give power to a person to take decisions for you, do we allow them some discretionary powers, at least to know that in a very fine, difficult time, they should be able to use that power that you gave them?
Yes, so the powers...
Do you recognize that?
Yes, the powers are controlled. For instance, if you are a CEO and you're supposed to spend up to $1 million and you want to spend more than $1 million, you have to go back to the board for the board to approve. So if you are a minister, you go there and you are taking a decision that is binding on Ghanaians. The Supreme Court, in the ruling, when Nanabi and Bamford went to court, is saying that if there is an agreement that is binding between government and government, it must be ratified.
Is time of any essence to you at all?
It must be ratified.
Would you give the minister some credit to say that you're asserting that he knew what he was about and will not put the country... I'm just playing the devil's advocate.
Why the
not put the country.
Why the haste? Why are we in a haste?
Because deportation of people... It's usually
the
with
Ghanaians, they are not. You remember when Ambassador Idusei was the US ambassador, in the first term of Trump, he decided to deport over 1,000 people who are Ghanaians, who said they are Ghanaians. Ambassador Idusei went there, screened them, and said they are not Ghanaians because nothing shows that they are Ghanaians. We faced restrictions in this country. Government officials were not given visas for 6 months in this country. It happened because he said he will not sign. Now the president goes ahead. He is expelling criminals. That is what Trump said. He said, whoever commits any heinous crime, he will deport him to his country. And that was his promise.
Immigration, if you violate immigration laws.
He mentioned a lot of things. He said violation of immigration laws. And again, when you engage in any criminal activity, you will be deported to your own country.
But the foreign minister said that they have scanned, they have done what they have to do, due diligence. But I think you have made the point. Let me, when I come to you, Kisi, because your government is in power, I come to you for the finality. No, you're here. I have to hear them, then you can give me the government's position. It's okay. I'm managing the time.
I'm saying that in essence, you don't go and bring some people here and make it binding on Ghanaians. What is in for us?
What is in for you?
Yes, what is in for Ghanaians?
We'll ask Wanda. Wanda, please, be texting the foreign minister now and let's see if there's something in it for us. But my question to you, Nelson, is that, of course, government's foreign policy, Ghana's foreign policy is that be non-aligned, stay neutral. But yesterday is not today. A lot has changed over the years. We've always said that because of trade, because of exports and imports, many other factors economically, you cannot be seen to say that because you are non-aligned, you cannot. Genocide is genocide anyway. Sure. Do you expect that our current foreign policy, the government should be going according to as it is? Is it strange to you that our president gave us?
I am a student of international law. I did a private international law, I think, some few years ago. And so some of these things are a bit difficult to talk about, especially when a United Nations was formed that was supposed to be a rule-based system, but in its strictest sense. And so if in its strictest sense the United Nations is a rule-based system, it means that no country like Ghana can be afraid to talk about an issue concerning US or any other superpower. But I think that we need to maintain that position as a non-aligned country. However, the dynamics have changed. I mean, from Kwame Nkrumah's time till today, a lot has changed. Once we keep on saying that, okay, we are not aligned to any bloc, what we mean is that we are still being shelved in our own corner. I think that the president made, I don't know if you have listened to President Mahama and the Prime Minister of Barbados concerning the current, happenings with the geopolitical happening within the. So clearly you see that countries are now coming out gradually to criticize where criticism is due. Reason why President Mahama used the term, when it is a duck, it quacks like a duck, it's still a duck. And so I think that, yes, we should maintain our non-aligned position, but we shouldn't be scared to talk about things that are going on globally. I mean, if you go to the Gaza Strip, look at the number of people who are dying in a day. I mean, sometimes you ask yourself, like, are they human beings? Because here in Ghana, when somebody dies, it's a lot. But when you go there, people are just falling as if, so we can't continue being in that non-aligned position that we will not talk when it is time for us to talk. And reason why most Ghanaians rated President Mahama's speech at the UN one of the best. In fact, I listened to the full speech of President Mahama and that of the Prime Minister of Barbados. Very fantastic speech, very powerful speech. So I think that, yes, we should maintain our position, but when the criticism is due, we need to come out and talk. And that defines our sovereignty. These days, we talk about economic sovereignty, but I think we need to go beyond that and also talk about political sovereignty. And so once you are able to criticize where criticism is due and also commend where commendation is due, I think, it's a fantastic position. But to just be in our corner and say, oh, we are scared of Israel, because every year we send a lot of Ghanaian students to Israel for agricultural-related program, medicine-related, and so we will not criticize. The Prime Minister of Israel said that the only position or condition he is, posing is that they should release I think the hostages are about
the 20, hostages.
They should release them. And to the extent that the hostages are not being released, he will keep on firing. And I think it's not good for the global order.
You have it. Now
you have the final say.
You see, sometimes we look at people and we think that they are bold, but they are really not bold. You see, I have watched John Mahama from a distance, and I think that he speaks for himself, how bold he has been over the years. He may be a calm, very quiet speaker and all that, but he speaks where he has to speak. There's no Nkrumah's prescription of non-alliance did not mean timidity. It also did not mean lies. It also did not mean pretense. Speak to the facts, and that's what John Mahama has done. And when I applaud him for it. We were in this country that a vice president of the U.S., Kamala Harris, came to this country and told our president in the face, Nana Akufo-Addo, that the gay thing he has to respect it. President Akufo-Addo was not bold enough to even speak before a woman, a lady,
what does that mean?
Who showed up trying to project this LGBTQ at the presidency. So you have leaders who claim.
I mean, we have sat down to grant interviews about this many times.
What did he say?
I can't see what you mean by posture. What was he
What did he say? So you tell us what he said. Other than saying that one day it will happen. Let him say what he said.
But you that were criticizing it, you are in government. Have you? But you that were criticizing the LGBT.
It won't happen. And we have said it clearly. From the days of President Musso today, we said it will not happen.
So we'll see that.
You see, they are not even going to. They won't even have the courage to rear their ugly heads. If they like, they should try it. But go ahead. I'm saying that with President Mahama's positioning, I think it's the best for this country. We speak truth to power. We speak truth in honesty and in respect. I think he did it very nicely, and I will applaud him for it. I
have a direct question about the visa restrictions. Yeah. I'm happy about the multiple entries. Who doesn't want a multiple entry? How many years? Imagine you have 5 years and all. It's really nice. I'm happy about that. But was that
always been nice? It's been nice.
Is that what we got in exchange for the deportees? Let's be honest.
No, you see, I think sometimes we miss the point. The U.S. government was clear when the restriction came that people had overstayed. Students who had gone to school, finished school to come back, they won't come back. Even government officials who have traveled or whatever of the sort abuse the essence of their visa. I have been to the U.S. a couple of times, but I've always been there on J1 visa. J1 visa is when the U.S. government invites you. You are being paid by the U.S. government and everything. So, and even on those programs, I've had Ghanaians who have run away. One time we were about 11. We came back, only 4 of us arrived back in Ghana. So today, I can't even find the other 7. And it's embarrassing. So these were the basis for which the U.S. government imposed some of these.
And the basis had changed.
You know, and they are there, they are chatting with you and telling you how good life has been and all that. I think they had a legitimate
But has it changed?
concern.
Has it changed?
Has what changed?
So, do you now find people going and coming back?
Now things are a bit stricter. So you can't do that easily. Some even get pregnant, go to give birth in the U.S. All because they want their children to become U.S. citizens. I think that we sometimes also chipping ourselves in some of these issues. You want your child to be a U.S. citizen, go to the right route.
What did we do? I don't think there's free lunch. What did we do to get the reversal of the restriction?
There have been a lot of engagements over the period, high-level engagements, as stated by the U.S. government themselves in their press release, both their own and that of the minister's release. People are linking it to we accepting some of these deportees.
Is that a possibility?
The deportees,
is there a possibility?
If it is a bargain, I don't know. But what I know is that diplomatic ties are always changing every now and then, and people will always make offers. If the offers are good, if it's not good, fine. What did Ghana gain? What did we lose by accepting these deportees? These deportees were West African citizens, and by our own constitution, by our own ECOWAS protocols, they are allowed to be in our country for 90 days. But you are very the U.S. government. No, hold on. The U.S. government.
No, the ECOWAS thing is for visa when you have applied for visa and you have come into the country.
No,
it's not when you have been deported. Show me which law that says that if you have been deported.
No, I'm not saying when you have been deported. They are citizens.
They're citizens of what?
Citizens of West African origin. Nigeria, Togo, Benin, and all that. And they have a right to enter this country for 90 days and go back to wherever they are going back to. Now, they were in Ghana.
Under the same circumstances?
Not deported.
Is this right? For those
if you listen to me, you'll get the point. And I'm saying that they have a right to be in your country 90 days. As to whether they are criminals, they are deportees, and whatever of the sort, it's a different matter altogether to be settled. And they were not here to come and stay in Ghana. They were here as transit to their country. Number two, the US sending them to a country that they don't want. Was supposed to facilitate their going back to their countries. Now you're talking about 34,000 deportees across the US. 34,000. If I'm to process their return to their various countries, it will take me years. And this thing needs to be shared among the various embassies. So Ghana was picked for West Africa. Eswatini and co were picked for Southern Africa, right? The Rwanda and co were for Central Africa.
Government of Ghana had to say that I'm interested.
No, to defeat the argument that we accepted these deportees so that the visa will be restricted. Was Rwanda also restricted? Was Eswatini also restricted? So the argument doesn't wash. Those other countries that accepted to receive the deportees for onward, transfer to their various countries, were they also on the visa restrictions of the US? In the first place? They all accepted it. People went to Rwanda, people went to Eswatini, people came to Ghana and all that. So
but would it be a problem if indeed it is one of the reasons?
It's not going to be a problem at all.
It's not going to be a problem.
No, because
there's always a bargain, right?
Yes. It's of no cost to Ghana.
It's of no cost to
Ghana.
Ghana.
It's of no cost. It's not like we benefited from some reward or some financial gain and all that. We never benefited. So I don't know where
someone is being deported to this country.
3 minutes.
The country says, I don't need him. He's not from my country. I don't need him. Then you go and bring him to Ghana because you think that when he comes to Ghana, there is free movement of...
it's not that he thinks. It is what it is.
You understand? And again, you see, the Supreme Court has a pronouncement that if it's an agreement between Ghana government and them...
Don't talk law on this program.
Let me understand.
Don't talk law.
Why?
There's Article 75 of the Constitution.
Yes.
It's clear.
That what?
That when government enters into treaty agreements,
yes,
they never mention MOU, if you care to know.
What is that?
If you care to know, if you care
That's
to know.
nomenclature.
MOUs in Ghana are not exactly binding.
But you see,
until certain moves.
It is because of this ambiguity that Supreme Court's decision said that every agreement at all.
It didn't say
what did
he say?
I can give you a step. It says if it relates to security, it mentioned exactly what it is. It never said
this one is not related to security.
I'll show you.
When the country is saying that they are rejecting the people,
I'll prove it to you.
Someone is rejecting his kids and kin.
Don't do it.
For instance, you are an Ewe. We see someone outside. Then he says, I'm Ewe. He speaks Ewe. He said, I don't want to accommodate him. Then I say, okay, well, because he's a Ghanaian, let me just accommodate him.
Okay.
I send him to the house, and my wife will have to cry out loud. Ghanaians must ask Okujeto Ablaka, what is in for us that we can even go? You see,
people always thinking of what is in.
You see, the thing is that
your plan.
I will not sit here and say I am not happy because even business people have really cried out because they are saying that you cannot enter US and come back and do your business because of the restrictions and so on. So it's a good thing. But how did you even get there? How did we get the ban? It was the diplomatic force pass that the Okujeto Ablakwa engaged with the US, and that is the reason we were added as part of the restrictions.
Well, for me, I believe that to the extent that those deportees are not having any criminal background. I mean, if you look at the entire sub-region, I mean, the sub-region is a bit unstable. And to the extent that those deportees don't have any criminal background, I don't think there is an issue there. In fact,
who authenticated it? That they don't have criminal background.
From that
That's
of
the problem. It's Okujeto who authenticated it.
The Gitmo to that we receive. I mean, if you look at the reason behind the deportation, I think some overstayed their visa and some other, so to the extent that they don't have any criminal background, that will pose any security threat to the country.
That will be fine.
For me, and since they are also West African citizens,
But their country is rejected. That's my point.
Well, this is the end of the news review. One day I still finding the part that...
No, it's just that...
If you don't find... I will fetch it for you, of course, and you send it to me. I will fetch it for you as well. But this is how we end a news review. Wanda, just 30 seconds for you because you spend the time looking for something.
Oh, no.
That's it. All right. Do stay with us. Do stay with us. This is the AM show. That's more on the show.
We want to believe the words of the chief diplomat of the country that we are not getting direct financial benefit from this. But there's also what you call unconventional diplomacy and the dividends that yields out of it. You and I would agree that Ghana has not been, on the good side of the U.S. in terms of U.S.'s foreign policy. And I said the last time that it is not a case of Ghana alone. Ghana is not an outlier. What is happening is that we are just Ghana's situation is a product of U.S.'s foreign policy that is seeking to recalibrate across, the globe. But I think that there is always a means to resolve some of these backlash and the diplomatic row between U.S. and Ghana. And I think that as much as we are not having direct benefits in terms of say finances or in terms of funds, I think that this is one of the ways, and this is my thought. This is one of the ways that probably the current administration is seeking to change U.S.'s perception, as to how it deals with Ghana going forward, and compromise some of the harsh position U.S. has taken against Ghana. So they may not be direct financial resources, but when you argue, and this is the argument of the Minister of Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration, that the U.S. approached Ghana as part of the country that it considers friendly allies. And if you understand, the milieu, the psyche of the current U.S. administration, which is what I said, is a transactional, pragmatic regime or government, then what Ghana is doing, in a way, in years to Ghana's benefit, maybe it will help to change some of these recent, policy initiative that U.S. has taken against Ghana. Maybe it helps with the visa arrangement, which has been reduced from 5 years to 3 months. Maybe there is a waiver, for the MCC that has been terminated. Maybe there is a waiver for a number of these things that U.S. has reversed towards, Ghana.
You're watching the AM show now. If Dr. Nanaya Mreku was a soothsayer, today would probably be giving him his stone. But while Ghana secures a diplomatic breakthrough as the United States reverses the visa restriction imposed on the country in July this year, restoring the eligibility of Ghanaians for the 5-year multiple entry visas along with other enhanced consular privileges. But the question we're asking this morning is that could Ghana have gotten more than this following the U.S. migrant deportees deal? What really is in this transaction for Trump? Well, joining me this morning is Dr. Nanaya Mreku, international relations expert. You heard his voice earlier. And as well, we're joined by Dr. John Osai-Kwapon. He is CDD fellow. Thank you for joining us this morning. They're joining us via Zoom. I'll come to you, Dr. Mreku. So you have just listened to yourself again on the show because we spoke somewhere last week concerning this deportees and what could really be in it for Ghana. Sorry about that. But this morning, let's talk about the visa restrictions that have been lifted. First of all, your initial comment on this.
Well, good morning to the viewers. Thank you for me in your studios.
Do I have Dr. Mreku? Okay, we'll reconnect with him again, but I've got Dr. John Osai-Kwapon here. Doc, thank you for joining.
Hello?
Yes.
Am I audible?
Nearly not audible, yes, but so let's try again.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm on the run as I speak to you, so please pardon me.
Okay.
So, like I said, Ghana, in that video, I had projected that Ghana might not benefit directly, have any financial benefit, but there's what you call unconventional diplomacy, and the dividends that comes with it. So, I was expecting that every foreign policy is pursued with the national interest. And so if Ghana is accepting deported West African migrants, we might not have direct financial benefits, but there should be something in for us. And I projected that the Trump administration, and I've said that this is one way we engage them. I've said that Trump always wants something. When you bring something to the table, he gives you a check. And so going into these negotiations, if we did not have any benefit financially, I was expecting that we were going to score something out of it. And rightly so, as observed, I believe that the current visa arrangement is because of some arrangement that we are having with the U.S. embassy. So this is not coming to me as a surprise because, as I said, and as you play the soundbite, I saw something coming, in this, direction. I'm only hoping that going forward, there will be more detailed explanations as to how this arrangement will be carried forward, because we need to know, what it entails. If it's becoming not just an MOU, but something substantive, then it has to be tabled for some thorough discussions.
Okay. But for this deportees, but for this arrangement, whether it's an MOU or not, what other factors do you think the foreign minister really could have used as a trigger to negotiate for these restorations, the visa restorations?
Well, and you see, we must always take a clue, not from precedents, but the kind of engagement that the foreign minister has with the U.S. If you recall, the U.S. government approached Ghana as a friend in the capacity of a friendly ally, to help it pursue its immigration policies of accepting West African migrants. And I've always made the point that for now, there seems to be some waning popularity of the West in our part of the world, in Africa and in West Africa. And Ghana offers a very stable, relatively stable democracy for engaging the U.S. and pursuing its national, policies or national interests. So I think that quite apart from this, another leverage you can pull is to how, a relatively stable democracy the country is, and looking at the waning popularity of Western influence in our part of the world. This was another leverage, that we could pull. And so, I mean, like I said, we need to know how the Trump administration thinks of itself, and then going forward, how to engage the government. This is one of the things that I'm sure we are learning, that if we are able to meet the U.S. government in some way, some of these leverages are going to be, some of these harsh policies are going to be waived, in my opinion.
Okay, stay with me. Let me bring in Dr. Osekwapon. Doc, so is this politics or results of good negotiations which can amount to good governance?
Good morning, MFA. I think it's a mixture of all of it. Yes, there's no such, as we say in the US, I'm sure it's other places as well, there's no such thing as a free lunch, which means that in these kinds of bilateral relations, something's got to give, right? If I give you something, even if not immediately, at some point, it would also be nice that if you give me something in return. And it depends on what the two, whatever two countries are dealing with each other may end up deciding is in their mutual best interest. And so, yes, if there was some negotiations that have given Ghana particular results, that for me is just the way the cookie crumbles, right? It's all part of the way nations relate to each other and the way nations treat each other.
Do you think that if indeed, if later, for example, this gets to Parliament for a certain form of rectification at all, because then the minister mentioned that it's just an MOU, and if it graduates or if it balloons to become something worthy of rectification in Parliament, of course, he won't fall short of that. He'll go to Parliament. Would you say that if you anticipate the things that will go into what will mean for you, a country, to take deportees, plus what you get in return, if indeed we confirm that this is in return for visa, the restrictions that we had, would you say that what we've done plus what we have received from America is indeed fair? Is this a fair playground?
I mean, when you go to the negotiation table, you always ask yourself, I mean, what can I really get, right? How hard can you drive, the bargain to get, if there are 5 things you put on the table, of those 5 things in exchange for what you're offering, what can you really get? I mean, on the balance of it, there comes a point where you have to be realistic and get what you can at any given point. Yes, in negotiations, every so often there are turning points where you can crank up the dial and get something extra. But at this point, on the balance of it, you just have to be realistic in terms of what can you really get, and take what you can get. And now if it moves beyond just an MOU to a more detailed bilateral agreement in terms of what does it specifically entail, for Ghana, what are the implications for Ghana in this kind of exchange? And if you look at it, and it is more than, what maybe was originally contained in an MOU, then surely you may want something more in exchange. But at this point, on the balance of it, if the foreign minister is describing it as an MOU, then you take what you can, because the context for the negotiation is an MOU.
Okay. Dr. Nana Mreku, so, of course, we do not have the details, but we can work with on the face of it, right? What we have now, and we're usually doing we're advancing these theories based on assumptions, right? If indeed this is quite an exchange for receiving the deportees, would you say that it is a fair reward? Is this fair enough?
Look, let me state this categorically clear, that besides this arrangement, how else were we going to renegotiate our way out of some of these harsh policies, right? What is available is what you take. And then going forward, you see, we must understand that, and this is where I beg to differ from the argument that it is right for us to take in these deported migrants. But I'm hoping that this is not going to be the end, and that eventually the U.S., once they've realized that we've accepted first and second batch, if there's going to be another batch coming, in the days ahead of us, then we need to renegotiate the terms of engagement and see how we can get more from what we have now. But if this is what we have in hand, I think that is fair. It's fair enough. But going forward, if there are some other engagement that the U.S. government wants to engage with us, there are a number of issues that we can also bring up, like the termination of the Millennium Challenge Compact, as I said in that video. Some of these harsh, policies that seem to be confronting the country. I think that for now, what we have is just fair enough. But going forward, we need to have some serious conversation as to what we are getting out of. That is why I think that we need some parliamentary conversation around these things. Because you understand, if you look at Article 75 of the 1992 Constitution, it clearly spells out. And I think that, look, if the Honorable Minister has said Ghana inherited a number of MOUs that were never submitted to Parliament for approval, it doesn't make it right. Tradition is not always the best. So it needs some varying and some dynamics. But I think going forward, because you want to know and be able to argue, and get the best out of this deal, I think some parliamentary consideration going forward is best. But for now, we take what we have.
Okay. Please stay with me again. Let me bring in Nana Asafo-Adjei, Deputy Ranking Member, Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration, as well MP for Bosome Freho. Thanks for joining us this morning. I understand you're quite busy in your community or constituency. What are you up to this morning, first of all? If you can hear me, what are you up to in your constituency this morning before we get into the matters? Did I lose him? Okay. And unfortunately, I'll try and reconnect with him. His Deputy Ranking Member of Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration. We're going to at least get the position on this matter at all, whether this restrictions that have been lifted is coming to them as good news, and doesn't matter what government is given for a take. Nana Mreku, do you anticipate that once the U.S. government has just tested our pulse, and they know that, of course, there's no free lunch, if at least we send some deportees, we can at least soften some restrictions? Do you anticipate that if not to use this particular MOU, subsequently it's a part of us they're going to be hitting hard? Do you anticipate this?
Okay, so that's a very interesting question. Look, I have said that politics is a motivation for most policies. Indeed, politics is policies. And once the Trump administration wants to be in the good book of its, citizens, and mind you, I keep saying that the next year, November mid-election is coming up for the U.S., and Trump wants to be seen as doing something, especially in the immigration aspect. And once he's looking for third-party state, to explore and exploit for them to receive, deported migrants whose nationals are unwilling or unable to take them. I foresee that once it's realized that our government is ready to receive some of these migrants, he is going to test the pulse again. I'm sure that the U.S. government would want to find out if the third party agreement could be institutionalized. And this is where I think that our government should then be very strategic, in their relationship, with the U.S. government. I am envisaging, and I want to be cautiously optimistic, that we try and make the best out of this, development, whether it is first in the national interest of Ghana, in terms of the security arrangement, in terms of the reintegration agenda. Are we only taking West African deported migrants? Because the argument of the government is that these people were, according to existing ECOWAS protocol, they wouldn't need a visa to come here anyways. There is a visa on arrival grace period. And so we're just like taking them from Nigeria or any other of these countries. But the point is that it shouldn't move beyond that, and then we begin to accept criminals, because these people, their backgrounds have been vetted, and according to the Ghanaian government, we have also vetted them, and so they've passed that security test. But going forward, are we taking on migrants from other places? What threat does it pose to our national security? And then even if you are continuing taking deported West African migrants, you should be in conversation with the nationals of those countries. You don't bring them into Ghana, and then that is when you want to engage those countries. We can't be seen as the outsider who reaps more than they be reaped. We can't be seen as being more concerning to the needs of Nigerians than the government of Nigeria.
Right.
So I think that if you want to play it safe, we need to engage with these governments, the nationals of these governments, before we begin to bring them here. And then again, lastly, we have to find out, taking them back to their respective countries, is it really safe for them to be taken back to those countries? Because some U.S. governments, some U.S. federal courts have really placed an injunction of the deportation of some of these migrants because of security concerns back home. So these are some dynamics we need to weigh, going forward.
Okay. Let me in a bit. The cost of taking these deportees, plus the cost of getting a multiple entry 5 years visa to the U.S., the nuances, we may see that the deportees are quite a number, and then maybe the number of people who will be receiving multiple entries, 5 years, will be probably more. But I ask this question because the entire duty lies on the consular, the person who will grant you this visa. And so while it sounds very nice, it could be that maybe in the next 1 year or 2 years, it will just be a few number of people that will be awarded these visas. Am I correct? So the restriction which has been lifted on paper will look very elegant, but very implementation of it, we may not really be benefiting. Am I thinking right?
So on the face of the argument, let us first establish that these are analysis and protections we are making as to whether these restrictions were based on these deported, agreement. Exactly. But granted that this is the case, I'm sure that we have in my opinion, we have a very vigilant, outspoken Minister of Foreign Affairs. And I like it when he said that international diplomacy is shying away from political correctness, and that states are becoming more emboldened in the dispensation of their foreign policies. I think that he will be monitoring. I think that the ministry will be monitoring whether indeed the visa restrictions that have been lifted and the restoration of the 5 years and multiple entry is really what is happening, and that people are really getting these visas.
Right.
Otherwise, it becomes flimsy, it becomes opaque. It doesn't really have meaning. When we want to get something out of something, and they are getting everything, we are getting nothing. So I think that the ministry will be doing their monitoring and evaluation, for want of a better word, to see how these visa restrictions, the new arrangement, fosters on.
Okay, stay with me and let me bring in Dr. Osekwapon. What are some of the challenges you envisage this current government will face integrating these deportees, especially because they have a minority that is pushing back, right? Minority says that, well, you have quite a handsome majority in parliament. Why don't you bring it? Whether it's an MOU or whatever it is, bring it and let's rectify it. What this means is going to introduce all of us into the nuances and the details that went into the acceptance of these deportees. On the back of this, what kind of challenges do you anticipate or envisage the integration of these deportees? One, they don't have family, they've never been here before, all the factors that will come to play for these deportees to feel at home.
So when you think of how you integrate them into the social fabric of the Ghanaian society, as you mentioned. Family, so how do you get them into any of our communities? How do you get them to settle into these communities? That's one challenge. Then there's the economic factor as well. They would have to be able to find a way to support themselves, or at least to be able to live and sustain themselves. And so you also then ask yourself, how is their economic life going to work out? Are there going to be opportunities for them to engage in some productive economic activities so they can earn an income? Or are you going to provide them with financial support so they can live? Is this a temporary arrangement in terms of they are in Ghana just for a temporary period and then eventually be sent to their countries of origin? But again, what happens to them on the social and the economic side during that period? I'm sure the government will be fully aware also of their profiles, of who is being deported. But again, are there any security implications if some of these deportees may have run afoul of other laws beyond the immigration laws, of the United States? And how do you, ensure that Ghana doesn't become, vulnerable to any security challenges that they may have posed? So there's a whole lot of social, economic, security issues that must be taken into consideration, which I'm sure the Foreign Affairs Minister will be fully aware of in these negotiations and coming to this MOU or ultimately a full bilateral agreement that would come to Parliament for approval.
Okay, Dr. Mreku, I'm quite curious. It looks like people have become very aware of their rights, their liberties. Now, for deportees who are going to be given a place here in Ghana, they're here already. But for the discontinuation of a court matter, they were headed to court for unlawful detention. And then I'm wondering that, well, you've been deported, you're going to get a home, and you're already, you're already experimenting the laws and your rights already. Does it give the government at least an idea moving into the future that, well, it's not going to be a walk in the park, just saying that because of friendly allies, you accept people from the US and then it ends there? If these people didn't discontinue the matter in courts, the government of Ghana would be in court with these people, the same people that you're creating a home for. What does that look like for you?
Well, they still have rights. I'm sure that their rights don't cease to exist just because they are West African deported migrants. They are deportees. They still have rights, and also because they are members. They are citizens of ECOWAS member states. And there is some law, and that what Ghana. The of Ghana's legal system, so the sanction will task force the fact that they've been detained for more than 40 and seeking detention against their deportation to respective countries. So the thing is that it's still, they are, like I said, their right to cease to exist just because they are deported, migrant. I think that still have
I know that you are on the move, but if you could at least just reposition yourself for me, I'd see if the line will be clear this morning. We'll try again. Doc, can you hear me? Unfortunately, you can't hear me, but we're going to move on to the other part of the conversation, which I desperately will need Dr. Mreku on to have this conversation about how Ghana should have a neutral posture, or Ghana should have a non-alignment posture when it comes to international matters, especially that of Israel and then Palestine. And another and related matters. But I'll try again if Dr. Miracle is on. If you can hear me, we can get into that conversation. Can you hear me, Dr. Miracle? Okay, I'll just invite Dr. Osei-Kwapon to just give me your general overview of the president's speech. I think since after that delivery, you and I have not had any conversation yet. If you followed his speech at the UN General Assembly, what do you make of it? Many have applauded it. Do you?
Yes, particularly for the critical issues that he brought to the attention of the global audience. One issue in particular for me was the issue of migration, and the stories he told about the kinds of immigrants that you would find in other societies. You know, so he mentioned the Ghanaian American who sits on the federal bench in the US. He mentioned another Ghanaian who, a black mayor, I think somewhere in Europe. I liked the framing of that because in conversations about immigration reform that currently, for example, is going on in a place like the US, I feel like there are moments where the narrative seems to suggest that immigrants, quote unquote, bring nothing of value to the new societies in which they find themselves. And I think it was very important to get the global audience to rethink that narrative and acknowledge that, yes, there are definitely, some immigrants who may run afoul of the law in the new societies that they find themselves in. But generally, these are persons, who leave their countries of origin, find themselves in new societies, integrate themselves very well, and become very productive members of their new society. And I think it's very important that as the global, as the world thinks about issues of migration, the challenges that comes with it, and how to properly treat migrants wherever they find themselves, that we do not sort of lump all of them into one category as persons who are bringing nothing of value to a new society, but rather these are people who become very productive members of a given society. So I, in particular, was very pleased about that part of the speech. But overall, again, the issues that he brought, global attention to are issues that are ongoing, regularly do come up. For example, the reform of the United Nations, especially when it comes to the Security Council and the role of Africa as a continent in this body, and especially this powerful organ of the UN, was very important. Issues of natural resource governance and how African countries can benefit more from their own natural resources. On that, I think the onus is still on the African countries who own these resources when they negotiate with those who bring in the foreign direct investment to help us extract these resources. But overall, I think it was a very good speech that touched on very important global issues.
Well, over here in Ghana, the minority says that over the years, we as a country, we're known for non-alignment. We shouldn't be aligned to and with any country, especially in matters like this for our foreign policy. And then it looks as though this government is almost looking like they are aligning to one part in this, especially for this conversation that we're having. If you look at the foreign policy as it is today, do you think that the intention of that foreign policy as drawn years ago still matters today? Should we have a country such as Ghana non-aligning?
I remember years ago, years ago, I think I was still in secondary school, there was a NAM conference in Ghana, the non-aligned movement had, their annual conference in Ghana. And there was this thing about, this line about how non-aligned are these non-aligned countries. Overall, you would still end up having bilateral relations with some of these countries. Ultimately, I think every country has to be realistic about its place in this global in this global world. So whilst you may take, quote unquote, a non-aligned position on certain global issues or certain foreign policy issues, in terms of do you want to support one country over another in its rivalry over certain decisions, I think we've reached a point in the world where you ought to also be very realistic. So being realistic doesn't mean that you throw your weight behind every single issue that some of these dominant powers or other countries are engaged in. But I think that there's a balance between this idea of non-aligned and remaining neutral, but also nothing preventing you from building bilateral relationships and being able to speak on issues that a country feels it must on matters of global importance. So for me, it can't be an either-or proposition where it's this binary thing, or either you're in or either you're out. But I think there has to be room for some of these nuances that allows a country to, on some matters, remain quote unquote non-aligned, whatever that means, but also allows them to be able to also pursue their own national interests vis-a-vis the countries that they regularly engage in on political and economic matters.
Right, very well said. Thank you so much, Dr. John Osei-Kwapon, for joining us. We're unable to reconnect with Dr. Nanaya Mreku. He's an international relations expert. But for that, we're going to talk into the geopolitics, especially many of the speeches, that stage walkout as well, that happened when the Prime Minister of Israel as well was addressing the UN General Assembly. When we get, maybe in our subsequent bulletins, we shall engage Dr. Nanaya Mreku on that. But thank you for joining us on The Big Stories. We have much more on the show. Please stay. You're watching the AM show, and a gentle reminder that it is sponsored by Kedoga Company Limited and Syntex Tanks. Now, one big one that everybody's nearly excited about this morning, sickle cell patients to have a sigh of relief as treatment is now to be covered by the National Health Insurance Scheme. We'll hear from the Sickle Cell Foundation exactly what they make of this by government. And joining us in studio this morning is Dr. Yao Asamoah, his secretary for the foundation, Amos Ando, founder of the foundation, Amwako Mensah Joseph, laboratory scientist as well, and he's a member of the foundation. Good morning, and thank you for joining us this morning, gentlemen. It's an all-men affair. What did you know add a woman?
Oh, we have so many women.
But when it's time to celebrate the good news, you left the women out.
Oh,
why?
No,
that's not it?
They have been here with us, I think, when we were clamoring there was a poster day.
Okay.
We had Dr. Asman and then Albright. They were all here, so now it's
a turn for the men to also show up, right? Okay. Well, let me come to you, Doc. First of all, when you heard about this migration onto the National Health Insurance Scheme, I mean, what did you envisage? What kind of sigh, what kind of relief will this be bringing to patients?
Well, MFA, you can just imagine something that you have been working on for months, and so the moment we heard that news, it was a big sigh of relief for us, actually, as a foundation, because that was the major focal point when we had the sickle cell week celebration and also the World Sickle Cell Day. So that was what we put forward to through the National Health Insurance Authority. So when it came out that this is what government is about to do, it was a big news for us and for the entire sickle cell community, and then to us as FOCEL.
Okay. I mean, before the government even saying this, did it not have any subsidy at all? Was it entirely, the cost entirely was on patients? Is that the case?
Well, that one.
Okay, so with that one, you know, sickle cell disease, sometimes it has its own complications. So myself, I'm also a sickle cell warrior. So the foundation is not being founded by anyone just like that, but a warrior and then who is also a journalist. So I'm using that skills to also create more awareness.
That's good to know.
But as you are saying, when it comes in the medication, we pay for everything on admission. Do you get it? Because we have some essential medication of which you use to treat yourself in the house, such as folic acid, hydroxyurea, and then sometimes vitamin C and others. Yeah. But when you get a crisis and you go to hospital, there are essential medication that they have to use to treat you, especially when you are in pain. Medication like tramadol, petidine, and others. And even sometimes you going for a card as a sickle cell patient. When you have crisis and you are going to hospital, you have to go for renewal of that hospital card you are holding. You have to pay for everything. So I think it's a dream come true, yes.
I would have thought that the previous government had some sort of relief that already existed. Is this the case?
Yes.
And no?
That was prior to the, the election. And so sometimes you know that some of these, it was announced, some medications were announced, but till date, some are yet, or some warriors. Anytime we say warriors, we want to refer to sickle cell patients because they are really battling it out. And we are yet to have some or them going in for medication and having these ones scrapped off. And so we are only here to say that at least now it has been mentioned at a very high level in the UN.
Okay.
And it will never be taken for granted this time around. If the previous ones would say it's a political promise, we don't want this time to be in a similar manner.
Okay. Joseph, you are a lab scientist, and I can only imagine when you go through, people going through the test results, you seem to come face to face with it. Share with me your experiences, first of all, and how when it means you're part of the diagnosis process before the doctor will pronounce the person that they have sickle cell. You must have seen it and all of that. For you, how has the experience been for you, and how does this migration onto the National Health Insurance Scheme mean to you?
First of all, we would like to thank the government for this very important initiative. And so we at the health facilities, we come across them each day. And in fact, when you see them and their cases, in fact, it becomes so unfortunate on their side. Sometimes, as we are saying, financially, they become very challenged because they need to go through a lot of laboratory investigations. And because of the impact of the disease, we need to do a lot of testing, organ tests and other blood tests that we need to do for them. And it's in fact, it is costly, and they need to at least pay something because we need to do what you call HB electrophoresis.
English, please. Speak English so that we understand.
All right, that's fine. So it's just a simple blood test that we do to find out the type of hemoglobins that they have. Okay. So to know whether the client is AS, AA, SC, and the rest. So we can also do the kidney test and the rest for them because of the impacts that the condition has on the organs. And so, in fact, the clients are going through a lot. They go through a lot. So with this, it's a good news.
That's good to know. We're all excited about it, but let's focus more, at least, on the foundation. Amos, so for you as a foundation, what have you been doing before the government's addition to this? Okay, so, sickle cell disease, it can be, combated by only the government. I think the NGOs too, we are also contributing to that national, policy or implementation. So I think we at FUSEL, our main problem is we creating the awareness, even for people to know their genotype before they set in giving birth to these children. And then aside that, we are in for people living with the disease. That's why we take this implementation as something that is a dream country for us because, living with the condition itself is a burden. Yeah. Now, having financial crisis, even as a normal person, when you are going through financial issues, psychologically, you may not sound well. So see someone who is living with sickle cell disease, who is even thinking of tomorrow, what is going to happen to such a person. And so there's an issue that there will be a medication that will be restricted because they don't have money to cater for this. So FUSEL,
we keep on, creating more awareness on sickle cell and then pushing policies. That's our main focus because we know that like pushing these policies will go a long way, like what we've done so far. When we started the World Sickle Cell Day, we collaborated with National Health Insurance Authority, and it's a plus for them. We are so grateful to the National Health Insurance Authority. When they came, we pushed the agenda of this policy that we've seen that a lot of people living with sickle cell are suffering. And then the financial issues too is not easy for us at all. So the policy is to, at least the treatment should be on the National Health Insurance Scheme for easy access.
Right.
So, National Health Insurance Authority also did that report, they posted it, and then now we've seen what we are seeing now. So, aside we creating more awareness, making sure that people living with sickle cell disease to, cater for some of the medications, anything that they need, because it's not easy. So, we are there for policy implementation and also awareness creation. I think the two will help all of us.
Okay, Dr. Samuel, let's get into it properly, because then when we have a lot of the numbers, government will be overwhelmed, they may be overburdened, right? Is this to suggest that it can be prevented? Does does FOSEL at least focus on the preventive measures as well, on the education?
Yes.
You stated that people must know their genes, at least know which ones to compare with and all of that, but
exactly.
How easy or difficult is it to prevent it?
That is the main thing that we tackle. What FOSEL seeks to do is to create the awareness. We want to have a society where every single one, before you say I do, you know who or what you are going in for. And so aside we pushing for this implementation of we having the sickle cell medication on the NHIA, our number one priority is to see to it that every single person knows about his or her genotype. And this is what we have done over the period that we came into existence. And to us, we think that if that one is done, at a point in time, government will have some relief, not to even think of sickle cell again. Because we don't want this to be forever. We want a society, a Ghana, where, sickle cell is not a global something. It is restricted to some crop of races or people. And unfortunately, West Africa, Ghana, we are part of that category of persons. And so we're creating the awareness. Honestly, I, for one, the first thing when I supposedly would want to fall in love with you, to think of is to ask of your genotype.
You decide to want to fall in love with somebody.
Oh, yes.
Doc, you have my attention. You have my full attention.
In this regard,
is there a test you run to be able to know that this person going out?
The first thing is I have to know your genotype.
Okay.
The moment I start to, I get to know your genotype, then other matters would follow.
Okay.
So this is the awareness that we are creating. That yes, a lot of people may fall in love or may, we can forgive our parents who didn't know. And as a matter of fact, even till date, we may ask somebody who is highly educated about his or her genotype, and the person will be telling you O positive and other stuff. They don't know about their genotype.
Right.
You understand?
Right.
And this is the awareness that we seek to create. That the moment we get to that level, government should forget about even subsidizing or taking care of. Because there would be a society without
sickle cell. Joseph, I'll come to you. Let me stay with Doc a little longer. So beyond the migration of these treatments onto the the National Health Insurance Scheme, I'm quite curious. The medication, is it available? Is it that it is available, but it is expensive? Or sometimes you actually have money, but you don't have access to the medication?
So I'll touch on a bit and then Amos will come in. So the medication is available, but expensive.
Okay.
We are talking about a population where the middle income earner is not able to afford most of the medication. For which reason, and it is one of the reasons why households would just rather keep their warriors at home. And sometimes, unfortunately, they pronounce some kind of things on them and associating it with spiritism here and there, you understand? So it is expensive, which is why to us, if government is able to implement this one, a lot of people, some people will tell you that sickle cell has a cure, and for which reason they'll be mentioning stem cell, whatever. How many Ghanaians will be able to afford that, NFR?
Good question.
So we assume that it doesn't exist. There's no cure. You only manage it. And the management, until you die, you have to spend a lot. I have come across sickle cell patients where they have to perform surgery, removing the marrow here and there. Aside the financial burden, the pain on the individual. So the medication is expensive. And Amos has a very brighter experience when it comes to the availability.
Amos, the medication is available, but
yes.
expensive.
The medication is available, but you know, some of our remote areas, we all have the access to, but as he said, it's quite expensive. We have medication like the hydroxyurea. So, I mean, you were hammering on, the implementation of this policy that it was mentioned way back 2022.
Yes, for this particular medication, the one you just mentioned,
the
hydroxyurea.
So the hydroxyurea, I think recently, Kolebu, it was free. But if you go to other regions now, where I come from, central region, some of the hospitals, you have to pay for it. So, the medication that was being free for people living in sickle cell, this one you can get it at anywhere and to treat yourself. You see, now you can even have to, you have to go there and purchase that medicine before you can have access. But I think it was free. Aside that, we have tramadol, petidine, and co. Even to get the access to that medication, you need to be prescribed this medicine through a doctor. So you can't just go to hospital or any facility or pharmacy to procure, let's say, tramadol and then petidine. Tramadol recently, it seems it was imposed that even the government don't want even anyone to go and procure with that.
There's a ban on it.
There was a ban.
Okay.
Because people were using it to do the other things, you see. But we, people living in sickle cell, even tramadol, sometimes you use it and then you don't feel anything. Because the pain is very, very high, severe, to the extent that the doses that they have to give it to you, it's even above 4 or 5 doses of tramadol. Sometimes, if they try the tramadol and it don't work, then they proceed to petidine and co. So this medication is very expensive. I think one sachet of the tramadol is about 70 cedis or so.
And how frequent must you take it?
Okay, sometimes you have to take it 3 times a day.
Okay.
One in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening, depending on how your doctor will tell you to take it. You see how it is.
Okay.
So the medication itself is available, but it's expensive. It's quite expensive for we, the middle class people. And sometimes you have to even compare this with data, because now it shows that people living in sickle cell, we are everywhere. A lot of people are giving birth to people living with sickle cell. I think there's a saying that I think 18,000 each year. So people that are being birthed with sickle cell each year, it's 18,000 in Ghana. That is the average.
Okay.
So 18 to 20,000 every year. So these are the children that are being born with sickle cell each year. So can you imagine?
Okay. This is quite a conversation we may have to carry through until we see the implementation of this announced policy, right? But finally, Joseph, maybe I'll come to you. You, at least, have said that you have seen firsthand when people come and then they take their samples. How frequent is this? And I hope that this treatment also covers the testing, or it's just the treatment. It says the treatment. Will you come to play for a lab scientist? The work that you do, will you find it on the NHI scheme? Will it feature?
Yes, so now what we do for the baseline is the screening for sickle cell disease. And so if you have it, if you have the gene in you, you'll be told that you are positive. And then the positive, you need to go ahead to know your genotype, whether you are AS, you are SS. And so the moment you have the gene, we are advising you that never partner with anyone who has this gene. Okay. So what we are saying is the testing, the genotype testing, actually it doesn't cover health insurance.
So you have to come and pay for that one.
Yes, you pay for that. But the screening phase, that one, it is health insurance covered. That is to know whether you are negative or positive. And so, as we are saying, about 2% of all the children born in Ghana, they have this disease.
I'm certain that we'll continue this conversation maybe at a good time, especially when we see it at the very implemented stage. But finally, when people are looking for Sickle, where can they find you?
Okay, so Focus on Sickle Cell Foundation, we are in Ghana. located in Winneba and Accra.
Okay.
So this year, we have a lot of policies that we want to even push. Some are in the level of the education, because we've seen that we lack the education. People are very ignorant about knowing their genotype or anything concerning sickle cell. And aside that, we have a lot of programs that we are going to run, at least to help people living with sickle cell. So this December, we are going to have Sickle Cell Fanfare. And we will be hosting it at the forecourt of Accra Mall.
Okay.
So this fanfare is going to, unite people living with sickle cell to clear stigma. And also, we are going to also partner with some of the pharmaceuticals companies here in Ghana for easy access for medication. Some of the medication, you have to use it to treat yourself in the house.
Right.
So with that one, you don't even need a doctor to prescribe to you, like folic acid. Even folic acid, you have to take it once a day. So if you have the folic acid, you can be taking it, hydroxyurea and co. So now we are making sure that the fanfare comes through, so that, at least people living with sickle cell to have a dream come true when it comes in we uniting ourselves, because the stigma alone, if you tell someone that you are living with sickle cell, it seems you are not part of human.
I think that's for a country we have made some great progress.
So we are making sure that we clear the stigma.
Okay.
And make sickle cell something like normal for even the warriors to tell their story, to tell people, their friends and their family, oh, this is my condition. It's not like you have to hide your condition, even you don't want someone to know that you live with this condition. So the fanfare is being featured on these issues.
Okay.
To clear the stigma and also to unite people living in sickle cell.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Dr. Samoa, thank you. Amos Joseph, thank you. And congratulations, at least, for getting the government to do this. When this fanfare is done, I'm sure we'll pick up on the conversation. Sure. But thank you so much for joining us in the studio. Yeah. Watching the AM show, please stay this more. Thank you for staying with us. This is the AM show. We're nearly done, but recall that last week we brought to your attention that the Ghana Institution of Engineering was doing a project and they had launched it some few days ago. They have actually provided for an ultra-modern for alternative dispute resolution center, where if you go, I recall that when engineers came, they were all touting that these are engineers. And so when you go, it's not just a regular facility. But this morning, we're joined by Engineer Ludwig Annan Hesse, President of the Ghana Institution of Engineering. Thank you, President, and congratulations on that beautiful project that you have launched last week. I know that it's not just the ADR, but as well you had an e-library as well inaugurated last week, some few days ago. How was the event generally, first of all?
Oh, the event went very well. We were honored to have the acting Chief Justice to grace the occasion to open the center, and also the President of the Federation of African Engineering Organizations, Engineer Rufilwe Buthelezi, came from South Africa to also join us in this feat.
Okay, that's nice. Congratulations again. For those who missed that interview last week and probably haven't heard about it, tell us about the ADR, the Alternative Dispute Resolution Center that you have launched.
You know, we as engineers or engineering practitioners are involved in a lot of projects, engineering projects, and they come with contracts, and contracts are relationships, and we know that relationships always can evolve into difficulties and problems. And so normally in the contract, you want to have processes resolving conflicts. So basically, we've had a long history of helping to resolve conflicts as an institution, because in a lot of contracts, they will name our institution as the point of call to help resolve institution, even informally, when we didn't have this center. And we've done this creditably, and I'm sure it's because of the way we were doing it that government, especially government organizations, even private organizations, kept referring to our institution as the one to name an arbitrator, to name what they call an adjudicator.
A mediator, okay.
A mediator. So this has been going on for the years, and we thought that we should formalize the practice so that we'll have a proper ADR center which is working independent of the institution.
Okay.
So we've set up a limited by guarantee company to do this business of ADR business, and now we are training people to be able to man and also act as adjudicators, mediators, and arbitrators.
And these would be engineers as well that you're training?
This will be engineers, but again, disputes are disputes. They can be engineering or non-engineering.
Okay.
And we are positioning ourselves to be able to cover both.
Okay.
So the people we train are also just not the engineers or the engineering practitioners, but we also train anybody who wants to be trained. And eventually we are going to list the people who will be on our arbitration list, mediation list, adjudication list, and it will be published. So you know the people who, when you come, the basket from which people will be selected to handle your case in advance. And these people will not be just engineering practitioners.
Mr. President, though, contracts, I see contracts nearly everywhere, whether small projects or big projects. Is this to suggest that for the engineering sector, disputes are quite common? And what would be the reason why you'd have certain disputes quite common?
Well, these disputes are common in all contracts. And in the construction sector, just like any other place, they are also there. But you know, construction also comes with a lot of money and a lot of investment. So when the disputes arise, the cost of the disputes can be high. And that's where the risk lies. And they can involve in delay in projects and excessive cost. If you look at government, a lot of government projects, they end up, a lot of them end up in disputes because of various reasons. In terms of project preparation, overloading the project, variation orders, all these things come in, and at the end of the day, there may be disagreements.
Right.
And new governments come and they don't continue on the old government projects, and the projects slag and people feel disgruntled, and then they go to arbitration. And we've had very huge arbitration costs awarded against our government. And I'm sure there are still some cases out there. And sometimes these cases go out, when they're international contracts, they go to London, Paris, or something to be arbitrated. We are positioning ourselves that we can also do it in Accra here.
Okay.
That's why we're setting up this center.
And so for the one that you have just set up would be the first of its kind in the engineering industry, even in Africa, or what?
Yes, I would think so. So far, no other African engineering country engineering organization like the GHIE has set up such a center, from what our president was saying when she was here. And also in Ghana here, in terms of professional institutions, probably this will be the first of its kind. The Ghana Institute of Surveyors, they also do arbitration like we were doing previously. They even have rules for doing the arbitration, but they've not set up a separate organization independent of them to do this and do this in the very concerted way.
The judiciary has said that they've welcomed it, as you have said, and they've said that it at least will help fast track some of these arbitrations and all of that. But what does it mean, at least, in the delivery of justice in this country?
Well, we know that when you go to court with your case, even when you go with court for a land case, it can take 20 years to finish. And there are some contractual disputes in the court which are taking so long to deal with. And the court themselves have realized that ADR processes offer faster and more friendly ways in which disputes can be resolved. So the courts themselves are encouraging the ADR systems. And the courts have previously referred people to come go to GHIE and go and see if you can resolve your problems. So that's why the Chief Justice was upbeat on this, because it's something they themselves have been promoting. And there are a few arbitration centers in Ghana already. We are not the first in Ghana. We are just the first as a professional institution that thinks that we should promote the work of ADR.
But how will it work hand in hand with courts?
When you are constructing your contract, the contract will have clauses for dispute resolution. For instance, in the typical construction contract, there's somebody who is called an engineer. The engineer supervises the project on behalf of the client. Now, when he makes decisions as far as the contract is concerned, and his decisions are binding in accordance with the contract. But if the contractor disagrees with the decision of the engineer, then a dispute has arisen. So the role of the engineer first is to bring the client and the contractor together to see if they can resolve it amicably. If they are not able to, then they go to the next step, which is called adjudication. So the contract would have named an adjudicator. They will go to him. But his decision is not legally binding.
Right.
But it's up to the parties to accept. If one party does not accept his decision, then they escalate it.
Okay.
So then it goes to arbitration. So the contracts provide for this. But sometimes some of the cases are such that this thing ends up in court. And the court thinks that go back through ADR processes and you resolve your problems quicker. So a lot of our contracts, big contracts, already provide for these processes within the contract.
Right.
What we are saying is that we have positioned ourselves to be named to handle these cases right from the word go.
Many find it difficult to believe that the ADR resolutions do not carry the same weight as the decisions from courts would have carried. Have you come across such
now, we have a law in Ghana. I don't know what the reference is, but we have, I think, ADR law, which provides that decisions that have gone through ADR process have the weight of...
And the center is going to ensure this?
Yes, the center is going to. So once you go through an ADR process and the decision is made, then it's backed by law.
It's binding?
It's binding.
Okay.
You can probably go on to appeal, but even I think the law says that you cannot appeal against an ADR.
True. Yes. And so you'd say that this is not very exclusive to engineers. People who are watching us or who think that they would rather use ADR to resolve their contractual misunderstandings, they're welcome.
Yeah, they are welcome because we are the list of arbitrators, the list of mediators, the list of adjudicators that we are going to publish will include people who are not necessarily in engineering.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
How much do you think this will be saving? The cost of arbitration, the cost of litigation and all of these things when challenges come up, especially in enforcing contracts, how much do you think that with this facility would be saving, especially in your industry?
Well,
no particular amount, but does it look like it will be a worthy cause?
Yes, when you have you see the cost varies so much, and it depends on what kind of dispute you are having. Sometimes they are very small things, but somebody feels very strongly, and you need to help decide very quickly. The beauty is that if it's technical, and we have technical people sitting on the adjudication or on the arbitration, then they understand the area of engineering that the issue is coming from.
Okay.
So you don't need a lot of expert witnesses and all those things because the arbitrators themselves, or you have somebody on the panel who understands those processes. And the right questions can be asked and the resolution can be brought up very quickly. Calling out cost, I'm not too sure I can.
I agree.
Now,
I totally agree.
But it can be substantial.
Okay. That's a good way to start. It can be substantial. Well, I can only imagine the facility. I'm told that it's very beautiful.
Yes, it's beautiful. Actually, what we did was that we had a library.
Okay.
It was built like 50 years ago as part of our office structure engineering house at Roman Ridge. And of course, these days, when you had the old books and all those things, they are going out of vogue. So that means we have space. So we have to remodel the library space to create a e-library on the first floor and give the ground floor to the ADL center.
Okay.
Beautifully remodeled, and you'll be pleased when you see you walk in.
These are engineers. I'm not surprised. It definitely will be beautiful. But I'll give you the final. Have your final message to people who are watching us, at least, and what they should do with this ADR center that the Ghana Institute of Engineering has come up with.
Before I finish, I spoke about remodeling the place.
Absolutely.
I just want to say a big thank you to the Volta River Authority, VRA. They fully sponsored the remodeling of the space to be used. And that shows the goodwill and the trust they have in us that we can do this business and do it well. Again, a little caution. You don't want to get into dispute to come to us. You need to write your contracts and prepare your contracts in a way that you can avoid the disputes. That's always the cheapest process to go. And this is to government. Go into projects that you can afford. Prepare the projects very well. Take your time. Make sure the projects are feasible. Make sure that there are budgets for the projects. And make sure that there are good engineers who are also supervising for you. And then you can be avoiding a lot of the disputes. But again, to all government agencies, to private sector agencies who are writing contracts as we speak now, we are open for business and we are credible, just like multimedia.
That's very refreshing and comforting to hear, President.
Please come to us, name us in your documents, and we'll provide you a good service.
I'm quite certain that people would rather have this route than want to go through all the cumbersome judicial system in this country. But thank you so much for throwing more light on this. I had a great conversation with your team last week, but even better this morning. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
You're watching the AM show. Please stay just a little more minutes. We shall wrap the show.
Thank you.
You're watching the AM show. We're nearly done, but quickly before we get out of here, ABC Game is playing big and your name could be next. All you have to do is dial *262#. Pick any 3 letters, stake from 5 Ghana cedis and win up to 1 million Ghana cedis with daily draws at 10 a.m., 5 p.m. on Adum TV and 9 p.m. You can play multiple times in a day, and for the bold players, Friday jackpot is the real deal. 1 letter, 3 times stake, 2 letters, 8 times stake, 3 letters, any order, 200 times stake. Exact order, 2,000 stake for 20,000 Ghana cedis and more. Play more than 10 Ghana cedis per round to increase your winnings. Licensed by the NLA under the Caritas platform. And before we get out of here, I'd like to wish a happy birthday to Brenda. We wish you all the best this year and beyond. God bless your kind heart. And this is from Anne, Edem, Portia, and all of us in Class A, GRAPCT. Brenda, a happy birthday from Anne, Edem, and Portia. And on myself, on my behalf, I'd like to wish my sister a happy birthday. Esiedra, the founder of The Global. Says, I totally love you and God bless you today and beyond. Happy birthday to you, Esiedra. Well, that's how we wrap up the show today. I am Emefa Akosia Adeti. Please, if you stay with the channel, Mamiesi Nyamecha Thompson will bring you Joy News Desk. Thank you for watching.